unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Call 1-888-FARMERS to switch, and you could save an average of $470 on your auto insurance. That's a lot of money in just a few minutes. With savings like that, you could be lounging on an impractical amount of ornate and overpriced throw pillows you bought for your couch. But you won't, because you're better with money than that. That's why you're calling us in the first place. Call 1-888-FARMERS to get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Based on average nationwide annual savings survey data July to December 2020. Underwritten by Farmers Trucker Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate. Products not available in every state.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman?
Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is going to keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Are we flying somewhere?
Hold on.
Oh my God.
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
Christopher Media. Let's make some noise. From Asthma Core Studios near Detroit, Michigan. It's unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
All right. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron. And I'm Rich.
Did you guys think it was cute this week watching a whole entire part of the country freak out about winter weather? And we're like, yeah, and motherfuckers, it's February.
Well, yeah, I mean, we get that every year, though. Like Michiganders and anybody who's from one of the more northern states kind of laugh at people's weather complaints more south of us.
Yeah, the Midwest and the East Coast are just like, yeah, what's up? Well, welcome.
Yeah. But this was kind of a different thing. I mean, this is, a national or an emergency has been called in Texas because of the state of the availability of heat, electricity, water, and food. Like, the basics are not being provided in that state right now.
Yeah, I have a friend that lives in southeastern Texas, I believe. And, they are not set up for this type of weather. The infrastructure with the snow coming down, they're not built for it.
Well,
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Texas.
She grew up in the thumb, so she's used to like 13 inches is a bad snowstorm. Anything less than that, and she's like, well, that ain't shit. So, and she's like, it's a dusting, and the whole fucking area of Texas she lives in shuts down, and apparently they got dumped on her area, and that's where the electricity problems are coming in, and this and that.
Right. This is all about infrastructure, and that's why the real shame of it is that, infrastructure should be something that we should be coming together on. And instead, what happens is, we have some fires and some blackouts in California, and everybody in Texas is making fun of them. This is what you get with your overregulation and your weird rules. And then this shit goes down now in Texas, and everybody in California is laughing at them, saying this is what you get for not regulating enough.
Well, to be fair, fires and all that crap happen in California regularly. How often do we talk about a snowstorm in Texas? This would be the first time in, 6 years, 7 years?
Yeah, it's
I don't know what that means
usually
to be fair, but I mean, there's points.
California should be ready for it. It happens all the time.
Is that our current infrastructure is failing us, no matter what your political alignment is. That's what should be bringing us together. Is that no matter what your politics are, they're not directly attacking our failing infrastructure in this country.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, if you really doubt that, take a drive cross country. Okay, and see how the roads look, especially once you start getting near the major cities and you start taking the bypasses. Like, we have 275 that goes around the city of Detroit, because that's like you start getting into to those type of areas that are real heavily populated areas. Oh, the roads are falling apart, chunks of bridges laying on the highway. It's not just Michigan. I've been all over the country. I've seen it in every state I've been in. I mean, this isn't an issue that popped up in the last 5-10 years. This is 25 years ago.
When this stuff, the governors,
our governor ran on fixing infrastructure for interstates and highways, there's federal funds.
Yes.
Okay. That's federal government's job. The surface streets, the minute you get off the highways, state roads and shit, that's the state's job to take care of. Now, where the funding comes from, I'm sure the feds kick into states based on some arbitrary fucking thing, whatever. Now, whether or not that money gets put to use for it, that's a different story. And I think we've pretty much learned in this state, they're going to raise gas taxes against our wishes when we vote them down. They're going to raise fucking taxes on this, and they're going to do this and do this, and build casinos and pass the lottery and say it's for school and infrastructure. And we've had casinos for, over 20 years, and the lottery, shit, since I was a little kid at least.
Medicinal marijuana for a decade.
Mm-hmm. And, I mean, dude, it's 16% sales tax for recreational marijuana. And I've been to the dispensary and watched someone walk out with fucking $1,200 worth of fucking product. Okay? Oh. So how much did they fucking rake in people sitting at home losing their fucking minds for this last year on recreational marijuana and taxes?
Right. Well,
it's not a Democrat or Republican problem. It's a bureaucratic problem because there's too many fingers in the pie and you can't keep track of who's fucking taking what.
Right. And just like regulation is the same way. It's not a Democrat or Republican issue. It's not like one of them have a better handle on how to properly regulate a business or a utility or anything like that. Because once you politicize the issue, then everything that is a push towards more regulation is seen as more democratic. So this is what exactly happened in Texas. In most states, there's regulation that says that if you're going to provide a fuel source that powers the community, you have to make sure that it is winterized. Even if the chance of hitting sub-zero temperatures is rare in your area, you still have to do the proper prevention to make sure that it doesn't happen. Now, with lack of oversight, it just becomes a numbers game. The company goes, well, sure, we could winterize our fuel source and be protected, but that's on what's our percentage chance? They look at the number and go, oh, it's only a 20% chance. So a 20% chance and we're spending millions and millions of dollars to winterize it? It just is a numbers game. What's our possible risk of exposure if we do fail in properly winterizing versus how much does it cost to properly winterize our fuel source? And they didn't do it, and that's why all these people are left literally in the cold. So
yeah,
we've seen plenty of examples, and I'll wrap up real quick, but we've seen plenty of examples of overregulation in California. We have those stories going back decades. We could talk for the rest of the episode about that. But this is an evidence of the other side of that, of improper regulation, just not being effective. It's not about too much or too little. It's about how effective that regulation is. Is it targeting the right things? Is it holding the right people accountable or the right organizations accountable?
Well, see, this is one of those issues I think that people, they'll break their legs running to try to politicize this issue. But truly, I'm with you. To me, this isn't a political. The only political issue here is keep the fringe nutbags out of the discussion. All taxation is theft, and the government should run everything from cradle to grave. You're idiots. The rest of us understand there is a Goldilocks zone of regulation. Now, we can debate, argue, even call each other names, accuse each other of preferring the company of men to women. I don't give a fuck. But there is a Goldilocks zone, and most people are rational enough to understand that. They might not be rational in other parts of their life, but like what's going on in Texas with their lack of regulation, it's high risk, high reward. Yeah, you get cheap energy when everything goes fine, but the minute there's a hiccup, your shit goes up 1,000, 1,500%.
Right.
And you're fucked.
I don't want to be overly pedantic on this, Rich, but I kind of recoil from the use of Goldilocks zone here even, because that's that's implying that like you find a balance and regulation and you stick with that. Like there's a model for regulation, and it's not a model. It's having to pinpoint areas. It's a map that you have to decide which areas should you focus on. It's not just an area where you can say, okay, California's too much regulation, Texas is not enough, so let's model everyone after Michigan. Right? That's like Goldilocks zone, so like find the median in it. That's not going to work. Regulation has to be specific and pinpointed.
I got you. Whatever. Then bad analogy I was drawing. Whatever. What I'm saying is, and by Goldilocks zone, to your point, what I do mean is every situation should be taken as an individual situation, looked at, and
considering there's many Goldilocks.
Yeah. Yes. Because what's too hot for you might be too cold for me. I mean, it's just. But I mean, when it comes to, we have to keep the power on when God dumps hate and discontent via snow on us as a country. Yeah, we got to fucking have power and heat. And I'm sorry, I don't want to hear about taxation as theft. Well, and I don't want to hear about how we got to turn over every fucking utility to the government and let them run it. Because, what'd you just say, Aaron? California, Texas, there's two extremes.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? You're sniping at each other from across the country, from across the fucking continent, and giggling and laughing about your problems. Meanwhile, you still got your problems creeping up your ass in your backyard. I mean, that's the issue here. And it's this all or nothing attitude that got these people in this situation because they listen to businessmen and politicians say, oh, your shit will be lower. Well, of course it's lower, but
and who are
what
the
happens when there's a hiccup?
The two biggest boobs that actually have power in politics right now are Newsom and what's his nuts that fled? The dumpy guy.
Cruz,
Eddie Monster? I mean, Ted Cruz?
I'll just ask the question right now.
I know they're not direct equivalents as far as their positions, but they are equivalent in the fact that, and this like isn't just something that's just now popping. I mean, people might start to, with this story now, start to get wise to what's actually going on in Ted Cruz's state. But yeah, I mean, they are the extremes of the examples as far as right and left in this country, and their most prominent leaders are fucking boobs.
But what is Ted Cruz supposed to do? He doesn't run Texas. He represents Texas, but he doesn't run it.
Well, he's still, I mean, wouldn't you feel some responsibility in that position? I mean, I know that he doesn't, like, it would be up to the governor to make declarations of disaster and look for, federal help in getting them out of their current situation. Ted Cruz could be very helpful in that.
Now, do I think it's a good look?
For all what we think personally about Ted Cruz, he is a powerful man.
Yes, but
he should be there doing his job, making sure that the people that he represents are being taken care of.
But I'm looking at Rick Abbott, vacation. Man. I'm not looking at him. Like, I get it's not a good look for Cruz to do what he did, but like what? Again, he doesn't run Texas. I'm looking at the governor and going, "Hey, man, your house is on fire. What the fuck you gonna do?"
See, the Ted Cruz situation to me smacks of a politician who's way too comfortable that he's just going to be reelected in perpetuity.
Yeah,
it's okay. How do I put this? It's the difference between when Obama was elected during the recession and the day after the inauguration. They're like, it's tradition. The new president redoes the White House, and he's like, this country's in the worst shape since the Great Depression. I don't think dumping $10 million into remodeling the White House is the right thing to do right now. Whereas
you're writing a headline for Fox, right?
Well, yeah, we're in the situation we're in. In the last two presidents we had, Trump turned everything into like he turned into Goldfinger. He wanted gold toilets and shit and plungers. And Biden gets in there, and Biden's a career politician. The fact that Biden dropped out of politics for 4 years, came back and won the presidency. He's got to be feeling bulletproof. So he went in. He's like, yeah, tear this carpet up, repaint them walls. We're going to get a new did. It's the mindset of people who I don't think it ever occurred to them not to do it. I'm uncomfortable. I have the means and ways of getting comfortable. I'm going to do it. Now, to me, the shittiest thing that he did was packed up his family, hopped in a private jet, went on vacation, and left his dog in the fucking house with no power and heat. Yeah. I'm like, oh, what are you, an asshole? And it's a fucking poodle. It's a pocket rat. You know, it's not a poodle. It's one of the, you know what I'm saying? Like one of them little puffy fucking small dogs that I could fucking throw for a goddamn go route for 60 yards. It's like, Jesus, man. You can't take your animal with you? The fuck is wrong with you? Who's that politician that drove with the dog on the fucking roof in the carrier? Like, what the fuck is with politicians?
Yeah, no, that
horrible
was
to animals.
What's his name? That was Romney, wasn't it?
I think so. And then LBJ used to pick his beagle
he
up
fucking
by
vacationed his dog.
Jesus. I mean, look, this is how I looked at it. Chris, it's a bad look. But I'll tell you what, in 2003, when we had that massive outage, we had, me and my girlfriend at the time, we had money, and 20 miles to the west of us, they had power and hotel rooms.
Yeah.
So we stayed in a hotel room. Now, am I supposed to go knocking because I lived in an apartment time, to all my neighbors' doors and go, hey, we're only getting a one bed hotel room, but y'all can sleep on the floor. Come with us. No, that's not how fucking shit works. So what did you want him to do if he didn't go? I mean, if he was going to go.
Yeah.
Did you not want him to go? Okay, then say that. But like there's this righteous indignation coming from people like he should have done more. What the fuck is he doing? He's not Joel Osteen. He's not locking the doors to a sanctuary while people are dying outside.
He's not the governor. He doesn't run Texas. He just represents it.
Right. Well, I think that the reporting on Ted Cruz's actions during this disaster was wholly appropriate. What is unfortunate, though, is that is the sole focus of responsibility as far as what's going on in Texas. For every story that's written about Ted Cruz, that's one less that's being written about the governor or anybody else that directly holds power. Or people are paying more attention to that Ted Cruz story because they already are they are primed to hate Ted Cruz, right? So in the absence of we want to take a little break from Trump right now, but we still have all this hatred that we need to focus on somebody, and Ted Cruz is just the perfect victim for that, isn't he?
I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I don't even know who you are, and I hate you.
I just saw that last night.
Everything bad happens to you and only you.
I hate you.
If your headline is "This is what Ted Cruz and the governor are doing amidst what is currently happening in Texas," okay, I support your framing of the conversation that way. But yeah, if your primary focus is on the guy who doesn't have the direct reins of power when it comes to controlling this situation, and in the end, it's really just a person with means and ways taking care of their family. I mean, I would do it. I don't know if I would do it if I was in Ted Cruz's job. I would probably. The thing that Ted
Cruz's means, you would have. All of us would have.
We would have, yes. But if I had Ted Cruz's job, I would hope that I had the foresight enough to, first of all, not dress like I was going on vacation, send my family to some place that was safe and warm, get my own self to a hotel that was someplace where I could, be helpful if needed, and at least have the illusion like, hey, I'm here to do something if I can, because isn't that my fucking job?
Well, yeah, and amazingly, he's surrounded himself with yes people who obviously are terrified of him, because no one said, Mr. Cruz, sir, we could just buy a couple generators and hook them up to your house.
We can keep your house warm and safe
and have electricity.
Image.
Yeah, but my house isn't in Mexico. You don't understand.
It's gonna. Yeah, I got to get. Yeah, I want to bang senoritas and drink margaritas and get some fucking.
And then to be so spineless as to blame it on your daughters. Like, oh, they had this pre-scheduled school thing trip that I was just being a good dad, and I was taking them down there personally, my teenage daughters who have probably traveled on their own all over the place. I'm gone all the time. When am I ever around to escort my daughters to anything? But now I'm going to buy a first-class ticket to take them to Cancun and then fly back like a good dad dressed in flip-flops and a Hawaiian T-shirt.
Hey, isn't
looking like he just came looking like he just came from a Buffett concert?
But isn't part of this
right?
Isn't part of this hating though? Isn't a little bit of this like
of course.
People mad that they can't do it?
Look, I think you can hate and you can properly report as well. Just because we're hating on Ted Cruz doesn't mean that you're not properly reporting on him.
And you know how I know the mob's gone overboard on this one?
I should say.
The fact that Jake Tapper has tweeted, "Leave his wife and kids alone." Come on. If Jake Tapper is telling the internet mob to lay off of Ted Cruz, maybe we're overreacting a little bit.
I think any criticism directly to his family is completely unwarranted.
Yeah, as far as I know, his family
I wouldn't defend any of that.
Never stuck their fucking noses in any business for anybody to drag them into the political fucking horse shit that his their father and husband is in.
Ted's the slimy one for bringing his family into it and trying to use them as an out for his own behavior. If he would have just owned up to it and was like, yeah, you know what? I wanted to go, take my family someplace where I knew that they would be safe from all this shit.
Isn't that one of the best parts of having a family?
And so why not take a vacation? Why not just get it all over? But you know what? You're right, and I should be back here. So here I am. Put me to work.
Isn't one of the best parts of having a family is the excuse factor, though? I mean, I joke with my wife all the time. Some of the best parts of being married is a new excuse I have. Like, no, it's crazy. I talk it over with my wife. Isn't that one of the? Isn't the best part of having a family is you could? It's crazy. My family wanted to do it. I don't know.
I'd really like to go see Cats, but I have children, so I can't.
Yeah. See. Yeah.
No, I got you. But look, he could have. To me, this is just. He's not even the worst example of politicians in Texas being complete fucking scumbags that need to be fucking put in the public square in a stock. No, did you hear about the fucking mayor of some small town? I don't know if he's a Republican or Democrat, but I'm going to go ahead and generalize based on what he said. Probably think he's Republican. But, yeah, he come out and he's like, I'm not here to help you. I'm not elected to help you. You pull yourself up by your own bootstraps in this situation.
Oh, yeah, that classic libtard rhetoric, yeah.
And I'm just like...
Found it. If you're sitting at home in the cold because you have no power and you're sitting there waiting for someone to come rescue you because you are lazy, not you are lazy, but you're lazy, is direct result of your raising.
Oh, really,
only
asshole?
The strong will survive and the weak will perish.
Now, this is a guy we should get a mob and go after this guy. Fuck you, dude.
Now do you... Okay.
It's my fault for not working on my power?
He's an honest politician. I guarantee you a lot more feel that way than we'll ever truly, for sure, know. Because most of them are intelligent enough not to say it with a hot mic around. Or
do you think that,
on the record with a reporter. I truly believe that. Because his attitude... Oh, and by the way, he had to resign. And I'm like, well, we went after Trump for neglecting his fucking job. Twice we went after him. Went after Clinton for fucking lying about getting a blowjob while he was supposed to be doing his job. This motherfucker just told all his constituents basically, die. Can we get so he can never even be dog catcher or a midnight manager of a bowling alley in Oklahoma somewhere?
He says,
fuck him.
He starts off with it's not the local government's responsibilities to support you during trying times like this. Sink or swim, it's your choice. Do you think that his viewpoint is reflected in the Republican Party? Is that the message that they're really going for? Is that the ultimate result of small government? That even in a disaster, you should not count on your government. I mean, it seems extreme to me, but
they don't want us to count on them. They just want us to obey. That's it. That's the problem. See, I've never had problems with the shutdowns. I've never had problems with the mask and shit. I've never had problems with all the executive orders and mandates. My problem is, if you're going to tell us you have to pass these mandates and emergency orders for our own good and our own safety as a species, then you need to understand that we're looking at a pretty serious event as a species, and politics as usual need to go out the fucking window. Unfortunately, it's been ramped up to 10 And now people who legally can't go to work are staring, nothing in the face. And we don't know when this shit's going to end. You can't take people's means to survive away from them and go, it's for your own good, and then not even attempt to replace it.
Yeah.
Oh, you can do it, but you do it long enough, and the next time they show up in D.C., they're not going to be there to do the shout-out photos. It's going to be the real motherfuckers who want heads on fucking sticks.
I've been wondering the whole time, man.
Good for them. Because fuck that.
Everyone thinks it's all about handing out checks. Why have there not been any subsidies for for mortgage companies and landlords? Why haven't there not been any utility company subsidies? Why, hey, every Michigan citizen gets a bridge card. There were many more ways of doing this than just handing out checks and nothing.
There was a news story on the Hill about Portland. Portland, the progressive bastion of hope in the Pacific Northwest. Portland has grocery stores throwing food out because they can't sell it. And people were going dumpster diving. And so this grocery chain hired off-duty police officers to stand and armed guard this food while it rots so people can't take it out of the dumpster, okay? This is some Grapes of Wrath shit. This is some Dust Bowl in the 19-teens and 20s shit. This is ridiculous. And any fucking cop that took that job needs to not be a cop and sit his ass in prison for a few years and think about what the fuck you did. What are you doing? These are fucking people who are so desperate. So desperate. And you're so progressive and liberal, Portland. You let them take over fucking, 4, 5, 6, 7 city blocks for fucking 2 weeks? But you won't let them eat? Fuck you and your fake bullshit. This is the prime example of these are not people on your side. These people don't care about you. And we need to stop. They're not our leaders. They're our employees. We hire them. When they don't do the job, we're completely in line to fire them and be pissed that they didn't do the job that they said they would do when we hired them to do it. Period. What excuse is there for fucking any politician in that city to sit by and let that happen? And I'm not talking, and these aren't homeless people. Some of these people that were getting arrested and ticketed were not homeless. These are just people who no longer can get federal aid and don't qualify for fucking unemployment because they're gig workers or tipped workers or they didn't have steady enough work history, whatever. They're just trying to eat. They're not even stealing from a store. They're taking it from the garbage.
But this happens all across the nation every fucking night, right? The dumpsters are full of edible food and locked up because of the fear that if somebody got into that food and ate something and got sick and then sued the company, that their business would go under. That's why. Primarily why we waste most of the food in this nation is because of potential for lawsuit, legal exposure.
I've never worked in a grocery store, but I've worked in food service.
Sure.
I don't know about the grocery store, so I'll take your word for it. That's why they do that. But I can tell you this: every general manager I've worked for, who will go check the dumpster, like I've had owners. I've showed up at work and they're in waders, like they're going like fly fishing. They got the waiter suspenders on. They're going through the dumpster, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" If I find an empty pizza box in here, I know you guys were eating it. Somebody's fired. I'm like, you got to be shitting. Are you serious? Are you fucking serious?
That is someone who just runs their business shitty if they're counting money like that.
That's the vast majority of owners and general managers I've worked for. Yeah. That's the honest to God's truth.
I bet they're doing something else.
And I'm just like, really? I mean, I've never heard them say, oh, we're worried if someone will get in the dumpster and somehow we'll end up catching a lawsuit over it. It's always, they're cheap cocksuckers.
See, for me, it's been pest control. It's to keep it. It's to what I've been told, at least the places I've been. It's to keep pests out of there.
You know what the pest control was for us? If you see a raccoon in the daytime, run, because those things are nocturnal and it's probably fucking rabid and it's going to bite you. That was our pest control. Rats, mice, they don't even bother me anymore. I've had them run over my feet while taking trash out, and I'm just like, well,
But the point is that you can have both if you really wanted to. You could take all of that food that's still edible and that you're going to dispose of and have a plan to distribute that to people who are in need of food and still have a locked dumpster that is free of raccoons.
And they
matter of fact, you have less to worry about it when it comes to pests because you're not putting so much nummy food in there.
They could have, real simply, bought themselves a huge amount of good PR and goodwill in the community. Hey, if you're food insecure, if you're having problems, it's not, look, we're going to throw it out anyways. Mm-hmm. Come pick it up. If you want to donate, if you want to donate for it, we'll give it to a charity.
Right.
Whatever. Dude, they would have fucking got so much free advertising and goodwill out of that.
And that sounds great, but then, what do you do with all the homeless showing up at your business?
What does Portland do with all their homeless anyways?
I don't know.
Nothing. That's the problem.
I mean, I haven't been out there since the early 90s, right. So I couldn't tell you.
But as a business, you own or lease property that you can say, get the hell off of.
I think about the bullet I dodged every day, not moving out there.
That's when you set it up outside. I mean, not to be a dick, but it's like,
no,
hey, you don't have to come in. No, we'll bring it to you. Here you go. Here's a bag of food. There you go. Nice one.
What there should be is organized programs in the community that go around and collect this food that's still good and distribute it properly. You can't just go like, oh, we're going to get rid of donuts, so homeless, make sure you line up outside of our door at 5 a.m.
Well, there is. I mean, I'm deaf.
There are programs, yes, but we should. I mean, on a national level, like the federal government should get involved in something like this.
Well, see, no, that's where the Republicans who love the Christians, well, why don't you set something up? Because most of the people I know that do what you're talking about, it's not on an organized county, city, even level, let alone a state or national. But it's
private
the churches
or religious. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's mom and pop little grocery stores and meat stores around here still. And instead of, the meat's good. Instead of throwing it away, they donate it, and it's the same day it's donated. They pick it up, they take it, they put an announcement up, come pick it up. You don't even have to get out your car. You just
business
pull up.
Gets write-offs for it. They get to write off their waste.
Hey, and the church volunteers put it in your trunk, shut your trunk, have a nice day, God bless, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool, thanks, man. Jesus is just all right with me if he fed me tonight. Cool.
You guys know what Forgotten Harvest is? It collects waste from restaurants.
Yeah.
Takes it to homeless shelter.
Unregimented.
ChristopherMedia.net.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is going to keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Are we flying somewhere? Hold on. Oh my God.
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is going to keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Are we flying somewhere? Hold on. Oh my God.
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is going to keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Are we flying somewhere? Hold on. Oh my God.
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is going to keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Are we flying somewhere? Hold on. Oh my God.
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere, all new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
That's what I'm saying. Like, this is what our government should be doing. It should be looking at the private sector and going, okay, where are the programs working? How are they working? How can we scale them up on a national level? Or if we can't do that, how can we put financial support out there so that every community can have something like this?
Because we can't show that the private sector has better ideas than we do. That's why. It's...
I don't know if that's
Can you imagine if...
true. I mean, we elected a president because we wanted him to run the country like a business.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Can you imagine if here we go. I'm the guy making it political. A Democrat would have been in charge and probably would have gone a lot different. But as far as for the vaccine development, we would probably still be waiting on it. Because he...
You think?
Yeah, because he let the private sector free. He set the private sector loose on it. Go. The person who gave him this vaccine gets to make fucking trillions of dollars.
Yeah, that's kind of a good point.
Look, I don't necessarily think that Hillary wouldn't have done that.
Well, no,
or any president.
Here's a good point that was brought up.
In times of crisis, we've always done that. We've always conscripted the private sector to help us out. Remember in World War II, like we turned our auto factories into tank and plane manufacturers.
Well, I think that had more to do with it's kind of hard to have fucking, people you've trained to work on the line when they're all over there fighting in the fucking European and Pacific theaters. And then here come Molly housewife, and she's like, what do you want me to do? And they're like, fuck it, we're going to teach you to build bombs. I mean, World War II was like, that was some serious shit. Like, if we'd have lost World War II, if the Allies would have lost, this entire planet would look awfully different. I mean, so that was a big thing. This is like, there are solutions. I was listening to a podcast that had politicians on going, either Trump or Biden could have, with the stroke of a pen, basically forced the hand of the vaccine companies and said, look, fuck your profit.
Yep.
People are dying. This is in the public domain. Give it to everybody. Every fucking company we can get to produce this vaccine is producing this vaccine. Period. End of story. Trump or Biden could do that. And he didn't.
Because that's the bottleneck. Everybody's doing their own version of it, and they are doing it with the facilities that they have for production. If you make it public domain, then we could have everybody vaccinated already.
I mean, look, this last year to me has shown that profits over people is not the exception. It's the rule.
It's kind of what this country was built on.
Yeah. I mean, because here's the deal. Small businesses are dying. I mean, 1/6 of the restaurants in this country have closed permanently in the last year. Mm-hmm. We're not even the forecast. I mean, of course, the Chicken Littles of the world. We haven't even hit the worst yet. And it's like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ. How much worse is this shit going to get? Well, if that's the case, we need to fucking start looking at Walmart, at Amazon, at these fucking billionaires, at these self-styled masters of the universe and going, this country has propped your ass up and allowed you to get to the point where you're at. It's time to give back, motherfucker.
Nope.
Okay?
Because they'll remind them that, hey, by the way, we put you in office because of all of our donations.
And see, that's the problem.
That's who's really running things.
That's the problem. Because they ain't going to go up and bite the hand that feeds them. And when I say this, I'm talking male, female, non-binary, trans. I don't give a fuck. Give me cat lawyer. I just need someone with balls in politics to go, fuck you, I don't care. We're putting the people who prop up us and as politicians in your business every fucking day and have made you your fortune. Yeah, it's time to fucking help them out. And you don't want to do it, then guess what? You will be on my shit list.
Right.
Will come for
and then they will go, then I will take my company to another country. And
then maybe that's what needs to happen. And we need to fucking understand that we are not number one in anything except for belief in angels and putting people to death.
Right.
So we need to fucking accept that maybe middle of the pack is just fine for America.
What you're laying out here, Rich, is a conversation between three entities, right? The people, the corporations, and the government, right? And while the people are having their say, it's not really having an effect, right? What has an effect is money and power, and that it only goes back and forth between the companies and the government. So as long as that money is allowed to exchange hands for power and power for money, the people are going to be shut out of that conversation. Even like the kind of upside, if I could just say that there's an upside to, and let's just shorthand call it cancel culture, but longhand version is basically the dissemination of information, right? If the people can use that, and if we can, even if we can't stop the flow of money in exchange for power, if we can just have oversight on it, right? We had that at one time for a short period, and then we went back to these blind packs that they're able to donate to, and makes a lot of small donations, that come from the CEOs of these companies that are probably reimbursed in their bonus at the end of the year, and might as well just come directly from Amazon and Google. And that allows them to circumvent the oversight system. If we can just retain oversight of the money, then the people do have power in this, And that's kind of the plus side, if there is one, to the politicization of everything, that everybody has to take a stance on it now. And now Amazon even has to take a stance on, they had to take a stance on the president in general. And just live with being anti-Trump, and it certainly didn't seem to hurt them.
Which makes no sense because I have a buddy who worked when he was laid off from his job, his actual job, went to work at the distribution center over here by us where we're at now, and it is a Trump paradise. No social distancing, no masks, no breaks.
Oh yeah.
I would deliver $1,500 worth of food to them, and I'd set it up, and all the managers would come to the front, and they'd make them line up, and it was pitas, and they'd one, and they were cut in half, one, like they're fucking prisoners. They're talking to them. Hurry up! You got 15 minutes. Eat and get back to work. Let's go. And I'm sitting here like, oh, this motherfucker would be gumming his food for the rest of his life. He talked to me that way for what they pay these people. I ain't that afraid of jail, motherfucker.
Hey, man.
I'll make bail and come back.
They're not slaves.
Oh, exactly. Don't talk to me like one.
No, but they're at-will employees.
Yeah, well, at-will goes both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
They can walk out, and you can be fired at any time. So, yeah.
You don't like it, you don't have to work
but how long
there.
does that argument hold when they dominate a market?
Okay, but it's not about dominating the market. It's about treating people with basic human decency.
I agree.
And if you can't do that, then you get what you fucking deserve. I'm not talking about it's a shitty work environment. Apparently I don't know. They start at like 15 to 17, depending on what area you're in. And after 90, if you're there after 90.
My sister-in-law works for him, makes $18 an hour.
They'll give you benefits. And I'm like, okay, well, all that sounds great. But maybe the place I was at, it was just people having a bad day or bad bosses. But I was like,
it fits with a lot of the stories that we've read. Yeah.
Hell no one's talking to me that way. The job ain't that important. And yeah, if that means that, I'm eating bologna on hand for a week until I find another job, that's fine.
Yeah.
I have no problem doing that. I come from nothing. I don't need the toys. I like them. I don't need them.
Yeah, and Rich, I support you. You have to make your own decision based on, on your needs, and other people they have other things to balance, and they come up with the equation that, well, I guess I'm just going to have to suck it up.
Absolutely, I am privileged enough to where my daughter has already graduated college, has started her life. Mm-hmm. I don't have a wife. I don't have any kids under me.
Right.
It's just me. And you know what? I'll do respect to myself. My fat ass ain't starving anytime soon. So as long as I can get water, I think I can survive for a week. You know what I'm saying? Until I get a new job and a paycheck.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man.
And doesn't it expose how flimsy, all these supposed labor laws that we've been crying about our entire working lives, about the certain rights that we have, and hey, I get a 15-minute break at this time and all that. Like,
depends what state you live in.
All that shit means nothing.
Oh, dude, they got rid of breaks in the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
I had no idea until a buddy of mine left the place I was working, and he went to go be in the McDonald's manager training program, and he gave it a solid 3-year try, and he just said, dude, they can't retain any decent employees. They want them to work 8 hours a day, and they give them a 20-minute paid lunch, and they go, you got $7 food credit. The fuck?
Dude, I did 8 years of, you're on salary, you don't get shit. I did 8 years at lunch. Ha! Good luck. You run lunch, you don't eat lunch.
I understand what you're saying, but at the same point, you weren't working for fucking McDonald's. I mean, who were you working for? I mean, if we're talking a smaller pizza place, that comes with the territory. You understand that. In fact, you told me something that has stuck with me ever since, and it's been 7 years since you said it. If you work for a franchise and the owner of the franchise not only works at the shop, but has a job outside the shop, start looking for a new job, because that shop ain't going to be there very long. Well, every time that's happened, it's the truth.
If they didn't just open, like if they don't have a job, they're about to quit. If they went and got another job, oh yeah, it's over.
And I mean, you can't. It's not just hire good people. You got to retain good people. All right. I mean, I've worked jobs where one of the best workers was chronically 15 minutes late, but would stay a half hour, an hour off the clock.
Yeah.
And so we had a manager want to fire him, and I'm like, are you stupid?
Amazon's hiring model has allowed them to ramp up and take advantage of the pandemic and all the new customers, all the new Prime members that they got, all the massive amounts of shipping that had to be done. Their hiring model puts them in a perfect position to take advantage of a situation like this. I don't think that it's a long-term sustainable model.
No. I mean, they're going to retain a good chunk of their business, because I think a lot of people who probably were just, I'd rather go pick it up, try it on, instead of wait a day or two and then have to return it if it's not the right size. Some of those people are still going to be like that, but I think a lot of people are going to enjoy the comfort of, I just shopped and I'm sitting in my underwear scratching my balls.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of
good with that.
I think that Amazon, there's already been a dip from the high in Amazon sales in general at the peak of the pandemic, shall we say. It's already starting to taper off, and some of that is just having other options, or people just being more comfortable with just putting on a mask and walking into a store versus getting everything from Amazon. But no doubt that they're still going to come out ahead. They're witnessing a rush of business, and when it does plateau, it's going to be lower than it is currently, but it's going to be higher than it was pre-pandemic, no doubt.
I mean, what was it?
Yeah, they're not going anywhere.
So I'm not saying that Amazon is going to hurt from it, but I'm saying if they continue the hiring and managing practices that they currently have that allowed them to take advantage of the situation, I think long term, over the next 5-10 years, they'll either have to change or they'll find it just impossible to keep a sales force to keep them competitive.
Well, they've already got robot pickers in their warehouses, so in 5 years it won't matter.
Well, I think one of the and
that's a possibility. But look, we're not talking about development of robots that makes a big difference for Amazon. We're talking about development of AI, the ability for a robot to identify a product, put it in the right box, and send it to the right place involves massive AI advancements that we don't currently have. We're on the precipice.
No, I've read they're already doing that at some of their warehouses. They've replaced.
I'm just saying.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely, in limited amounts. It can't replace every worker, but if you say
now,
oh, here's a bin of screws, robot. When we put in an order for this, you just go and find the right bin of screws. You take out 20 of them and put them in this bag.
But talk to me.
That doesn't replace an Amazon worker. That replaces a faction of Amazon's business.
I'm saying now, but talk to me 2026 or 2030. As quick as technology's been moving in the last 20 years.
Not true. AI and technology do not follow the same paths. And AI involves our understanding ultimately of artificial intelligence is going to involve deeper understanding of our own brains. And just like most of our oceans are still unexplored to this day, we have this myth that we use 10% of our brains, when really I think it's close to that we only understand 10% of what's going on in our brains.
Bingo.
And so, you can't just go, silicon chips and processing technology and miniaturization is all going on a path to take us to a robot replacing all of our jobs. That's not true. That path is inevitable as far as the technology it takes to make the robot. To actually drive the robot without a human being involved, that's a totally separate path. It doesn't track the same way as technology progress. And as a matter of fact, like most cutting edge sciences, it doesn't have a path that you can track. It has great leaps and then long plateaus. And we don't know when that next great leap in AI technology is going to come that's going to allow us to say, yeah, we can put a robot in place of just about any manual labor job here on the planet. I mean, it is inevitable, but to say that it's going to happen in 10, 20, 30 years, what are you basing that on? What do you know about
technology has moved?
Right, but I just explained the difference between how technology is moving and how AI.
How in 2000 a computer was on my desk, and now in 2020 or 2021 it is in my hand.
Yes, but what's happened is miniaturization and putting a lot of different pieces of technology into one little box, and limited AI technology that has allowed us to, instead of typing in an alarm, we can just tell our phone to do it. But that's not the same thing as replacing anything in your life. It's not the same thing as having an assistant or even an employee. We're a long way from that being a thing.
They could deliver a package by a drone to your house. You don't think
but think about
the technology
the manual labor side of it.
To pick a package and sort it
whether it's a person or a robot, you need to have a multi-purpose tool, right? That can look at an order, and sometimes it's soap, and sometimes it's bolts, and sometimes it's a whole lawnmower. And they have to make sure that it all goes into the right box, and that even if for some reasons a robot or person has put an item back on the wrong shelf, you don't just automatically grab that bolt that was on the box, on the shelf for soap, and throw it in the box. That you're making a decision going, nope, that's not soap. That goes over here. Soap goes in the box.
It's barcodes, right? Scanners.
I mean, look,
it's not that simple to just replace. Like, think about how much automation has gone on in the auto industry, but how many people it still takes to make decisions on the line.
We're on brand today because you guys are fucking agreeing with each other except for one little thing, and we're fucking arguing about it. So we're totally on brand today.
Well, no, I think Chris is stuck with this story that technology goes on a path, and AI is not on that same path. AI does not have anything to do with how fast we can make a processor, how articulate or dancy we can make a robot. Those robots look like they're having fun, but artificial intelligence is not involved in there. That's all programming.
Look,
it's all mechanics and programming.
The easiest way to explain it to somebody who knows music or plays an instrument is this. Right now, robots can play by ear, but they don't know what is going on. They can't understand theory.
They can't write music.
Yes, they can just, this is what you input, this is what I output.
And no matter how much you think manual labor is menial jobs that doesn't involve a lot of brain power, you can go on autopilot once you get used to it. But if you actually break down the process of learning and doing just any job of sorting, packaging, manufacturing, these are complex things. Just moving all of your fingers in the right way, right? Just the basics of the mechanics of the human body is kind of astounding. And to replicate that and a human brain,
I know jerking off.
There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it.
Jerking off while I put butter up my ass and lollipop in my mouth at the same time is complicated. So, we need to hurry up and develop these robots that are going to help. At least one to hold the butter, stick of butter in my mouth. I don't know. But No, I look, Chris.
No,
Aaron, I think you guys
Rich,
are
to your point, real quick. You don't need a robot to shove butter in your mouth. You need a robot that knows when to shove butter
in my mouth.
See? And that's a complicated thing. You can't. What do you have it read? Your voice, your face, a certain cue. You want it to just know when you're ready for butter, right?
Now I'm just picturing the scene from Fear and Loathing. When White Rabbit peeks, throw the toaster in the bathtub. And there's Arnold Schwarzenegger's the Terminator, and he just throws it in the minute the guy says it. And he's like, I did good. No, it didn't peak. Yeah. You're not understanding what I'm at. You got the action I asked you to do, but you're not understanding why I asked you to do it when I asked you to do it. Seriously, I think you guys are agreeing. It's just, Chris, you think it's going to happen a little bit sooner? Aaron, you think it's going to happen later?
It's an unknowable, is what I'm saying. It's something that we don't have enough information to plot. We don't know enough about the progress of AI to plot when that point is going to come. We should still be prepared for it. I
mean, I'm just going to say this. Chris, you're on an island. This is like Sporgy. You're on your own on this one because I agree with Aaron because we don't even understand consciousness.
Right.
For humans,
we don't understand human learning. Our school system has exposed how little we understand about how we learn, and just the understanding that, a better understanding of what we used to just call disabled, right? Or they just were a little slow. We've already come a long way in understanding things like dyslexia, and that people might just process information differently. It doesn't make a person with dyslexia stupid. It means that they need to learn, they need to process information in different ways in order to retain it. And that goes the same way for this broad definition of autism that we have, when really it's just a lot of this comes down to different ways of inputting information into the brain so that it sticks.
Why is a robot on wheels that can read barcodes so far-fetched to you guys? It's really all it would really be.
It's not that it can read barcodes.
You're telling me that could replace every Amazon worker right now. If it could, Amazon would do it. We have the technology right now to do exactly what you say. And if it was profitable, there would be companies out there doing it. But it's not profitable. There's too much maintenance. There's too much programming. There's not enough AI for the thing to do its job on its own. There's too many humans involved in buying, maintaining, updating, programming, all of these things, that it's not worth it. That you might as well, you're paying these are like engineers that you're hiring to maintain these robots. You might as well go back to the $15 an hour guy because he knows the difference between a bolt and soap without having to be programmed for it. There's a lot of just innate knowledge that is in the human brain that you can't replicate yet in a robot, even the dullest of human brains. And we've had this long history of taking menial labor and demeaning it and looking at it as just robotic jobs, because they can be mind-numbing under the wrong circumstances, and they can drive you fucking insane.
But how much AI really would be in, like, I need this item, get this item.
Spin the bolt all day long, going fucking mad doing these jobs, right? And eventually there was a robot that could come in and do the spin the bolt job, right? But
how much AI would be in, like, need this item, get this item? That's not exactly high-level thinking.
Look.
It is. No, think about the number of items that Amazon wants to handle, though. If you're talking about you're a hardware store and your items are screws and wood planks, and you just have to have them classified in a certain way, and the robots know where to look, and everything is barcoded. But you ramp that up to groceries and clothes and furniture and everything that you could possibly buy on Amazon. And the number of mistakes that your robots are going to make, on top of the fact that they are already expensive, is going to make it still cost prohibitive to put them in place of a menial $15 an hour guy.
But robots always work at the same pace.
Doesn't have to be programmed to know the difference between a bolt and a bar of soap.
Robots always work at the same pace. They don't call off.
Break down.
They don't get sick.
They're breaking down.
Listing the benefits of robots is not really an argument against what I'm saying. Like, you're right. These are the reasons why these jobs are going automated. But it happening right now? Like, you're telling me, if you believe that there is currently technology to replace every Amazon worker, yes, there is. But that technology is still cost prohibitive. It still is more expensive.
Dude, I said yet like 15 minutes ago. I said yet. I didn't say it was going to happen this year. It's a check with me. I bet you by 2030, there's going to be a lot more automated Amazon workforce than there is now. Way more.
There's going to be more automation in 2030. That's an easy statement, yes.
I mean, eventually we're just going to turn into Earth. What is it? What is the Judge Dredd comic? Not Judge Dredd. What is it? Earth AD, 2000 AD or whatever.
2000 AD, Mega City 1.
Where people are pretty much redundant and useless.
They're just housed.
Yeah, and what are we going to do since we can't work because everything's
can't live without them?
Everything's automated. Oh, we'll go to the smoking building and kill yourself quicker, and that way we can put you in the food because that's what happens. I mean, there's so many roads we can go down, and science fiction doesn't paint the rosiest of roads, hardly ever, when it comes to this. But I mean, ultimately, on a long enough timeline. And Aaron, you're going to have to admit this. What Chris is saying will happen. I don't think it's going to happen by 2030. Now, will the workforce, like you're saying, Chris, the actual, I almost fucked up. I almost said manpower.
Oh.
I know. People power. And, there's going to be less of a workforce. But you're still going to need humans there to watch over the shit. When shit breaks down, when machines can break down, and another machine can come in without being told, without any input from a human, and fix that machine and get it working again, we better start looking like, how's Mars look? You know what I'm saying? Because that ain't good. Because that shit is way too much thinking for itself. Well, I mean, seriously, they've come up with AI bots and put them online for a week, and they turn into white supremacists. And I'm not joking.
We've also kind of hit a wall with technology, right? So we're used to being able to track, I forget what they call that, but there's basically a straight line that you can track over the last, 60 years of technology, and as far as the progress of it. And that all comes down to, we've been doing the same basic computing since World War II, right? When we were trying to do code breaking, and we took that process, and that eventually gave us computers and home computers and the phones and everything else. It's all the same basic process and technology. It just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller, right? Well, we've reached that limit because the smaller you get, what you're doing is just concentrating the heat involved, right, and processing all that information. So we've reached that limit of we can't get it any smaller and still find ways to cool it off properly so that we can still have a functioning processor. So there's three things that are going to drive what happens to technology in the future. There's AI, which we've already talked about. There's computer processing technology, which is going to go to something like nanotechnology, something of just flipping qubits, having actual carbon atoms determine a 1 and 0, which would take processing on a power unheard of. You could have your home phone can run NASA literally, and not your home phone, your cell phone, and the third one being battery technology. That's going to be the other thing that determines, again, with a robot, how much maintenance is involved in a robot. If you can have a cheap battery that you can slap in and for a week that robot walks around and does its job, that's great. But those Boston Dynamics robots that are doing backflips, those things are probably charging overnight, and they got 10 minutes for them to do that video, and then they got to plug them in again. Because that's where battery technology is at right now. Now, what it takes to advance AI, to advance processing technology, and to advance battery technology is as of yet unknown. We only have theories on these things. We don't know when we're going to have, or if we're even going to have breakthroughs like I described on those. It may be something different that pushes it forward. So there's too many unknown quantities going forward. So to say like 30 years we're going to have this, nobody knows that shit. Nobody knows when we're going to have a leap in battery technology that will push us forward, a leap in processing technology, or a leap in AI technology. They could all happen at the same time. They could all happen in the next 5 years and change our world entirely over the next decade. Or it could take 50 years for us to figure it out. It's unknowable.
I mean,
that's the bigger point that I was trying to make.
Humans as a species, for all our faults, which are many, we are incredibly able to adapt.
Absolutely. That's our strength.
And I mean, I think that's kind of one of the reasons you hear a lot of well-meaning progressives say, oh, well, we should just, all education should be free. Because I think they're thinking, like in their mind, they're thinking, well, in the future, we're going to need more than just a high school education or a 2-year degree.
Right.
To be viable in the workforce and have a skill set that someone will pay you for. The problem is when everybody's got the same skill set and everybody can get the same skill set, we're all now equal because we're all equally worthless.
And it might be actually beneficial to pay a large portion of the the population, to just stay home and think, right? And most of them will probably come up with shitty ideas, and you're like, all right. And the government will probably pay other people to process all those shitty ideas and make sure that they're shitty. And there'll be a whole industry of just bad ideas, but we got to give people something to do.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is going to keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Are we flying somewhere? Hold on. Oh my God.
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're going to be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is going to keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Are we flying somewhere? Hold on. Oh my God.
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're going to be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
Call 1-888-FARMERS to switch, and you could save an average of $470 on your auto insurance. That's a lot of money in just a few minutes. With savings like that, you could be lounging on an impractical amount of ornate and overpriced throw pillows you bought for your couch. But you won't, because you're better with money than that. That's why you're calling us in the first place. Call 1-888-FARMERS to get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Based on average nationwide annual savings survey data July to December 2020, underwritten by Farmers Trucker Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate. Products not available in every state.
Pretty much everyone's spending more time at home these days. Maybe that means catching up on your favorite podcasts or doing more cooking and baking. If your winter could use some spicing up, Stop & Shop has ideas that might surprise you, like adding crispy, savory baked kale to popcorn, or chocolate chip banana bread in the shape of bite-sized muffins, or super easy-to-make chicken soup. Visit stopandshop.com for inspiration and order for delivery right to your doorstep. Spice up your winter with Stop & Shop.
ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
You know, I'll say this. I'm probably the biggest cheerleader, for lack of a better term, that I can't think of at the moment, for the military on this podcast. Mm-hmm. But it's not for the military-industrial complex. I understand why people go to the military. We don't have a so-called a de facto draft. You're 1A or 4, to 4F anymore. We have a poverty draft. Hey, yes, sign your life away for 4 years, to where you literally don't even own your body. You are now government property for 4 years. Technically, if you get a tattoo, you could go to federal prison for that because you deface government property. That's the truth. Right. That's how much you're signing away your life, and we'll give you $10,000 signing bonus. Guys, I hate to break it to you, and not you, but anyone listening, That's what they were giving airborne troopers in World War II.
Right.
As bonuses, and if they died, that's what the 10,000 is what their families got. That's 80 years ago. Think about that. It hasn't gone up, but you have people lining up to join the military. The military turns away people left and right. People think you just walk into a recruiting station, and as long as you can make a mark on a fucking piece of paper, you can join. That is not true. Arch is too high, arch is too flat. Teeth too bad, can't hear. Eyesight too bad, too short, too tall, mental illness. I mean, there's thousands of things that can disqualify you from military service. But if we didn't have the military that we have, if we, for whatever reason, could come to the conclusion that we don't need to be the singular world police, how much money could we put back into our own population and reap the rewards in future generations? How much of that could we, instead of pissing away, I mean, your average recon Marine, they spend like $2.5 million in training before he is ever outfitted. That is nuts. That is nuts.
We can make a bachelor degree part of public education.
Well, first of all, we really need to take a look. I'm just going to say it because this is a different subject for another show, and I really want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it now because we could get into it for a while. But if you've homeschooled or been around kids that are homeschooled and you've overheard some of the shit going on, we really need to overhaul our public education system. Because either these teachers are bad teachers or the system's fucked. Because they're not teaching them how to think, how to come up with logical conclusions. They're teaching them what to think. And just it's the same thing as when we were in school, binge and purge, stuffed it in, barf it up on the test and forget it. But now it's like everything.
If I could dissect that real quick, I would say they're teaching them how to think like they do, right? Not how to use their brain to come up with their own ideas.
Oh, very little independent thinking going on.
Yes.
I watch these kids while they're in school. Very little independent thinking.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step in, but like that.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
That really irks me because I'm like, my best teachers were the ones who were like, it's not my job to tell you how to think or how to feel.
Yeah.
My job is to present to you the skill set you're going to need to use logic and reason to go through life and hopefully pause before you make an emotional decision and fuck your life up in a split second. And then apply that to academia and apply it to everything else in your life and hopefully give you a solid foundation to move forward. No, these kids, everything is mommy state is the school. And they don't handle anything. No conflict, no matter how minor, goes without this huge kangaroo court bullshit. And I'm just like, they're fucking kindergartners and first graders. Kids like that fight over a toy and 5 minutes later are playing and best friends. Stop.
Let them kids fight.
I'm not saying physically fight. I'm talking argue. My toy, I want it. No, that's when teacher goes, well, you know what? Neither of you get it. Go sit down for 5 minutes. And when they get up, they're playing again. How do I know? Right. I was one of those kids. It's not that hard.
I know they try and apply, they like want to apply conflict resolution to everything, right? Only there's not really a conflict here. The conflict is that you have two kids who are self-centered and those egos are bumping up against each other. That's what happens, especially when you got young kids.
My wife is currently...
That's not a conflict to be resolved. That's not a right or wrong. And to lay it out for, we're going to lay out some artificial rules and say, since Sally had the toy first, that she's going to play for it for 10 minutes, and then she's going to give it away. You don't need to resolve that conflict. As a matter of fact, you're doing them a disservice by not letting them resolve those interpersonal conflicts on their own and figuring out how to properly communicate with their peers and not be, the weird one because you're always throwing a fit or pissing everybody else off.
My wife is currently an elementary school teacher and has found herself saying that her most commonly used phrase is, "Why do you think you're special?" Like she isn't even consciously realizing she's doing it. She just finds herself saying it tons of time.
But by showing that there's always going to be a higher authority to come in and micromanage your conflict for you, then that's why these people are going to go out in the real world and constantly be going, "Well, where's my check, Biden?"
Yeah, I've only met one teacher, and he happened to be the teacher who came on as a guest on our show, who stuck to his very much, liberal, blue sky, super ultra progressive view of the world once he started teaching, or once they started teaching. Every other teacher I've known has been like, we need to at the next parent-teacher conference, I'm going to hand out belts and teach these parents how to do some drive-by parenting. These kids are demons. Hey, I look at the way my friends' kids talk to them, a 5 and a 9-year-old, and I'm like, a child just basically told you go fuck yourself. And I'm just like, yo, that shit don't fly with me. They don't talk to me that way. And they're like, because they're scared of you. And I'm like, and I've never laid a hand on them. So what's that tell you? It's all about, I'm going to respect you and you're going to respect me whether you want to or not, okay? And you're going to take the respect I give you whether you want it or not, because that's how adults and reasonable people act. They don't throw shit fits and scream and call each other names and beat each other up. That happens in bars at 1:50 in the morning. So 2:30.
The principal of my high school, man, everyone made fun of him and shit and whatever. And, that's what you do when you're in high school. And it was plastered all up, but it was R&R, respect and responsibility. That was his mantra, when he was in charge. That's what it's all about.
And growing up, I always had a problem with the whole, because, I went to a lot of hood schools, and the whole, you disrespected me, man. You disrespected me, dog. That shit, just because someone disagrees with you, that's not disrespect. Just because someone told you no when you asked to do something that you knew. Can I go outside and get a cigarette? No, you're in fucking high school. Sit down and learn fucking history. What's wrong with you? That's disrespectful. I'm going to kick the shit out of you. I hate that shit. But common decency, being a decent human being to another person, that's a lost art. And we've replaced it with, you're special. You're unique. Yeah, you're special to the people who love you. You're unique to the people who care about you enough to get to know you. The rest of the world don't care if you live or die. And we are not preparing these kids for the real world. My proudest moment watching one of my friend's kids is she got done with her school and she took her headset off. She came over and she sat down next to me and she's like, she went into this long story. I won't go into it because it's a 9-year-old telling the story. She buried the lead. But then she goes, it just isn't fair. And then she looked up, literally blinked, turned and looked at me and said, but you're the one that told me that life's not fair and I better get used to it. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. You're 9. You should know life isn't fair by now. That's just the way the world works. Children die every day. Evil motherfuckers live to be 100 every day. There are Nazis that have never been punished. There are people that lynched people, burned people at the stake, who never were punished. In fact, were praised for their actions. This is a fucked up world we're in. And I'm just looking at, we're talking about the job market? Oh shit. Yeah. Imagine these kids working at Amazon?
Well, Rich, you're talking about the lack of just human decency in daily interactions, going to the grocery store and the gas station and shit like that. Right. And I think there is a link between that and some of the behavior that we see on social media and, some of the more positive behavior. We see a lot of GoFundMe campaigns for a multitude of reasons, people all pitching in $5 and $10 and $20 here and there. And people are, having thousands of dollars to pay for surgeries and pay for rent and all kinds of necessities, get vehicles.
Yeah, I've shared quite a few for the funeral expenses over the last decade.
Yeah, and I'm not knocking any of that practice, but I think some of the downside of that is it allows us to have a place to put those good deeds, right? And it's a preferred place. So now if you have an option of doing a good deed in a public way where you can post it on your social media, or in a private way where only the other person that you held the door open for, it knows that you're a good person. Why wouldn't you take the route that you can publicly post and maybe get some kudos for? And I think that there might be a kind of displacement of that energy instead of propagating it and that kind of overflowing into the rest of your life, like saying, oh, doing good feels good online. I should just be good to everybody around me, and it's going to come back to me tenfold. But I don't think that humans think that way. You know, I'm not trying to single out a certain type of person. I'm just saying human behavior. Like, if we have a place to go and do good, then we can just go, check that off the list. And now I can go back to being a selfish prick, because ultimately that's kind of how I was raised.
I did my good deed for the day.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. If the world's all about you, but still there's other people in need, well, that's how you parse that in your brain. Well, okay, I can still come first, but that means that I can do my good deeds and I can do them in public in ways that everybody can see that I'm good, and that allows me the cover to go and be selfish.
Well, you know, it's interesting you bring that up, because I one of the, I don't know if it's a podcast, I guess it's a YouTube show / podcast. It's a podcast that does video, unlike the one you're listening to right now. But they were talking about...
So TV show?
Yeah, pretty much, right? What's TikTok? It's a GIF with audio. So a video.
That's like video podcasts are starting to become a thing now, and I'm like, so like a TV show?
Yeah.
Like,
but they were talking about, you know, how Aaron, what you're getting at, you know, the whole do something online, post it, get the likes, get the boost. Right? Yeah. And then hop offline and be a horrible human being.
Right.
And you know, these were some, you know, I can't believe we have social media experts. That's an actual job title now, but social media experts, a couple sociologists, and there was a couple psychiatrists, and they were like, they all pretty much agreed. They're like, we're not making a prediction, but you know, there's definitely schools of thought in psychology that sociopaths, real quick, just explain. They're coming from the school of thought in psychology that a psychopath is born, a sociopath is made.
Okay.
That we're breeding, that we've bred more sociopaths who can blend into society than the 1% that we know and diagnose, which I truly believe. I believe there's a lot of undiagnosed sociopaths walking around. But this is breeding it because it's coupling narcissism with it couples narcissism with the boost you get every time, the serotonin boost you get every time you get an update and someone liked or retweeted your shit or laugh reacted or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so it's reinforcing it. And so it's like, but here's the thing, they'll never think of themselves as self-centered, narcissistic, selfish, lacking empathy, because, well, hey, I posted online about I donated to my friend's GoFundMe. Yeah, well, I've donated to a dozen GoFundMes, and the only one I did it under my name was the first one, because then my buddy contacted me, and he goes, are you out of your fucking mind? Rich, I know what you make. And I'm like, oh, you weren't supposed to see that. He goes, well, then click anonymous next time, motherfucker. And that's what I've done. So, because I didn't know. I had never used it before. And I was like, oh, all right. And it's hard. It's hard. You want to tell people.
It's like a mob boss defending is like, oh, you know how much I do for the community, and I give to charities, and I feed the poor, and all this.
Yeah, well, Nino Brown, you give out fucking turkeys at Thanksgiving, but meanwhile, you give them crack the rest of the year.
Good deeds can be good in and of themselves, but still, that doesn't mean that sometimes we have to question the motives behind them.
Hitler loved his dogs. That doesn't make him a good person. You know what I'm saying? Like even Mother Teresa or Gandhi was kind of a racist. It doesn't make him a completely rotten
kind
person.
Of. Have you read some of the quotes?
I don't know what. Here's the thing. Did I see him say it? Is there audio or video proof? These days, everybody's a fucking racist. Everybody's fucking homophobic. Everybody's everything.
It's writing it was writings in his own diaries. But sorry, I'm sidetracking.
But my point is, look, you can have a horrible, disgusting trait, but this is a trait that's like bleeding over, and I think it's ironic that I think you're right, Aaron. I never really thought of it this way. Online, these type people are more likely to show a face to the world that they think the world wants to see from them.
Right.
And everyone's like, oh, such a good, upstanding, such a loving father and husband. And meanwhile, he's fucking anything with 2 tits, a hole, and a heartbeat. And he's got 5 outside children. And, you know, every time he gets cut off in traffic, he's dropping more fucking racial epithets than Arlie Army in fucking Full Metal Jacket. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, it really, because he posted a rainbow fucking flag during Pride Month, that makes him a great person? No, come on. So yeah, compartmentalizing comes in, but I think we are starting to breed a new type of personality disorder, where it's like, me, I'm nicer online than I am in person. Like, I won't argue. I will try my best to come to can we agree to disagree online? In person, I'll argue till we both lose our voice. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I
don't do a whole lot of interactions, but every once in a while, I'll, throw a reply to somebody's tweet, a mutual that I follow, and it's always like, I always read it a couple times because I'm like, how many different ways could I take this? Do a couple different line readings on it. Oh, that actually sounds snarky. That's not what I intend. And then if it does come off wrong, I've had it, I've made like stupid jokes that I thought were like just adding something fun onto their thing, and they completely misread it. And I just go, okay, I failed, right? No response necessary, right? I don't need to come back with like, no, you misunderstood me, or come back with, yeah, how dare you call me this? Like, all right, hey, for me, it's like if I was at a party and you're kind of like, mingling a little bit, and you're hanging out with some people that you don't really know, and they start joking about something, you throw in a joke, and they all look at you like, what the fuck? And you're like, all right, moving on, right? You don't stand there and explain, no, you don't understand, bro, where I was coming from. Like, you don't understand the day that I've had, and this is what I was talking about. And like, no, you
Aaron,
misunderstand. All right.
Some people do that. You've met one of them, my friend May.
Yeah. Right.
Sorry, but no, I absolutely got your point. No, and look, I still think social media in and of itself is like, it's amoral. It doesn't care. I don't think, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you just posted a social media website and were completely hands off about it, and anything could go, basically you got 4chan. And 4chan don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? The guy who runs 4chan was just cashing checks. He didn't give a fuck. Until, we started really going after motherfuckers and digging, like, where are they saying this shit? Oh, online? Oh, at 4chan? Oh, no, they're at 8chan. That's when all hell broke loose. But you take our nature to be just, for every good person out there, man, there's like 3 bastard coded bastards with bastard feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I mean, honestly, Rich, I think you got your numbers backwards. I hope I do, but I mean, like, man,
if we track overall good in the world, I think the numbers support me on that. I mean, I think the difference, if you track the news daily, then I can see where you're coming from.
Oh no, I'm not talking about
if you track world events over the course of the last few decades, there's a lot of good. There's less, like we've talked about this. There's less hunger. There's healthier people living longer. There's less crime.
The amount of literacy, life expectancy, infant mortality has all went up in the last century is astounding. The only thing more astounding is how quickly we're starting to drop that number at the end of that fucking 100 years. Because life expectancy is actually going down for people in first world industrialized nations. I don't know if that's due to poor diet, poor health decisions, just a sedentary lifestyle.
We're tracking. There's 2 different ways you can track the information. I mean, I'm talking about over the course of decades. It's still going to go up. Yes, if you break down and look at narrower parts of that data, you're going to see plateaus and even dips, and those should definitely be paid attention to. I'm not trying to argue that overall Africans are doing pretty well, so let's let them figure their own shit out. There's definitely still need out there. But I'm just saying, if like we're kind of trying to put some science and numbers to an intangible, which is the goodness of people and how would we rate the overall goodness of our current society. And I'm just saying, like, while we certainly don't have hard things that we could attach to, like we could kind of track some raw data and we can track what we pay attention to. And if you track what we pay attention to, everything looks bad because we're always paying attention to the bad shit because that's kind of in our nature.
Yeah, outrage clicks I'm talking about going way back to our evolutionary nature of paying attention to the bad shit. Like, you know, do wild animals appreciate the sunrise? Probably not, because when they're admiring the sunrise, they're getting eaten. Yeah, I was going to say, you know, the first person to run back to the cave and tell the other Cro-Magnums, oh shit, or however they communicated,
ook, ook.
Fire, and it's coming our way. They're a hero. The first person who like sat down and did cave art or figured out you could drink cow milk, they were like, why were you sucking on a cow tit? What the fuck's wrong with you? Why are you drawing on a wall? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Drinking milk like a baby.
Milk drinker? What's wrong with you? But you see what I'm saying? Like, I totally get where you're coming from, because good will come from it, but we're going to come, why are you sucking on that cow's tit? You know, it's like, because the shit's good. I saw the cat drink it. He didn't die. I figured I'd try it. Fuck it. 1 + 1 = 2. What do you want me to fucking say? I don't know. But no, absolutely. And, you know, it's something that I hear a lot, especially the last 4 years of the clusterfuck we've had in the Oval Office.
Sure.
You know, it's turned even the most blue-skied progressive into holy shit, the sky is falling. Everything's fucking coming to an end. This is the worst time to live in the history of the entire fucking world. And I'm like, have you
absolutely
ever
not
cracked a history book?
Yeah.
Serious.
Well, that is the thing. Like, you know, we still talk about the Trump presidency like it was this anomaly, especially now that Biden's elected, right? That was a blip. Oh, you know, democracy almost went off the rails, but now we're back on track.
No, that was a foot in the door. That wasn't a blip. That was the crack in the door they needed.
Right. And they also kind of talk about it like, you know, they spent 4 years trying to figure out how Trump got into power in the first place. And it couldn't just have been because more people in this country wanted him. I know he didn't win by a majority, but let's just say that, you know, couldn't just have been from the number of people, let's put it that way, that wanted him in the presidency. There had to have been some other factor in here to account for this. But really, this was just like 9/11, a failure of imagination, because everything was there. We saw this happening at a local level, at a House level, at a Senate level, and we just kept thinking, yeah, but the presidency is different, right? It's distinguished. The White House has retained this like patina of like class, and even though the staid Senate, right? The Senate was supposed to be the respectable one. We saw that fall into chaos and have no plan, no message, but just disrupt, right, under Obama's presidency. And still, we wanted to believe. The presidency is different, though. It takes a different type. Yeah, and, you know, this is why McConnell could never be president, right? This is as high as he's ever going to get, because he doesn't have the composure to be a president. This is all bullshit. It was, first of all, there all along. It was ramping up in power. These tactics, the obfuscation, the outright just making shit up. This was all happening, and it was right in front of us. And then it finally hit the presidency, and we acted like, what the fuck happened?
By the way, Aaron.
Yes.
All due respect, fuck you for uttering the words McConnell and president in the same fucking sentence. Do not speak that into existence, I swear to God.
Oh, it would never happen.
It's too old.
Hopefully.
No.
Well, obviously a turkey neck doesn't disqualify you from presidency because Trump was president. So, I mean, you know.
The reason McConnell was majority leader is because he held more power as majority leader than he could as a president.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what cracks me up. People are like, oh, the president. I'm like, what about the people sitting in fucking Congress and with no term limits. They're set for life, man. Yep. We've talked about it. You get one term and you get one term in Congress. You can pretty much fuck off for the rest of your life and live comfortably. Right.
Yeah. No, if you're power hungry, Senate Majority Leader is right where you want to be. If you're power hungry and egotistical, then you got to go for the presidency.
Well, I think ego plays a massive part in anybody wanting power, but that's just me because I don't trust anyone who wants power over other people. But that's not fair. Yes. I don't trust most people that want power over the people.
But well, maybe there's a different term for it, but I'm considering a difference between having an ego and being egotistical to the point of like somebody like Trump is.
And I mean, it's Trump not hard.
All these talks about how Trump, his future plans are going to be like working shit from behind the scenes. Like, really? When has that ever been his MO? Trump is a behind the scenes guy. Okay.
Like I said,
right. Yeah.
His thing is going to be doing the I don't know what the ceremony is called, but where the queen knights somebody and puts the sword on either, now you may rise, sir, so and so. Is that what it's called? Knighting? I didn't know if there was a proper name for the ceremony. But anyways, that's what he's going to be.
Give him a K job, I think is what they call it colloquially.
Hey, how's that K job? I don't know. The queen, pretty good for an old lady. I'm just saying. Like, didn't cut me or nothing.
Yeah, maybe it's a Q job.
I didn't feel anything. I just came up a night. And I don't think so for the more mainstream, definitely not the Lincoln Project type GOP. I'm talking more the people who show up at work and proudly walk around with the mug that says liberal tears and like make sure that you see it all the time. Like the liberal tears is facing outward while they're drinking, and they're like, so you don't like Trump, huh? Yeah. And it's like, it's petty shit. It's not a reason to elect someone. If we need to really start looking at politicians as a job interview. Because if Trump walked into a job interview and I was the one doing the interviewing, he would never have gotten past the first interview. Period. End of story. To be honest with you, neither would Clinton. Because I'd have to hide my uglier daughters and my smaller livestock. No. Like, dude, you're a creep. I can smell it off you. I've been around fucking date rapists before. You're a piece of shit. Get out of here. You're not getting a job. But no, because they bite their lip and they tilt their head the proper way and they just the right angle. We're dumb. We fall for it because, he cares about me. Yeah, you dumb bitch. And you thought the guy that said he wasn't going to come in your hair really wasn't going to come in your fucking hair. Now, what happened when you had to wash it out? Did you think about how stupid you were? No, that's a you problem. That's not us problem. That's a you problem. Work on you. Get some fucking therapy. Get a friend. Get some self-esteem. I don't know what to tell you.
He also told you just a tip and you believed him.
It depends on where she gets to wash it out, too. Like, does she use his shower or she got to go home with the shit in her hair?
She used my shower. I've been jerking off in the shower so long, I'm surprised a baby ain't crawled out that motherfucker.
She probably would feel better about it if you let her shower off at your place.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
if you come in her hair and then send her in a taxi, that's a different message.
That's a baller move.
On the dresser. I'm through with you, honey. Hey, just be happy I'm not making you sleep in the wet spot, sweetheart. All right? Later.
That's the power move. Wash it off at your own house.
What is this Sam Kinison said? He goes, after my second divorce, I got kind of bitter. So I decided I'm going to use women like shake and bake mix. I'm going to use them like they used me. I'm going to fuck them, come on their back, steal $30, $40 out their purse, and crawl out a window. Let them wake up sticky, broken, confused for once. Oh, my God, where is he? What's this on my back? Why am I laying in a wet spot? Oh, that son of a bitch.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
Call 1-888-FARMERS to switch, and you could save an average of $470 on your auto insurance. That's a lot of money in just a few minutes. With savings like that, you could be lounging on an impractical amount of ornate and overpriced throw pillows you bought for your couch. But you won't, because you're better with money than that. That's why you're calling us in the first place. Call 1-888-FARMERS to get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Based on average nationwide annual savings survey data July to December 2020. Underwritten by Farmers Trucker Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate. Products not available in every state.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
He told the boys you're Superman. Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is gonna keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Are we flying somewhere? Hold on. Oh my god!
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
Call 1-888-FARMERS to switch, and you could save an average of $470 on your auto insurance. That's a lot of money in just a few minutes. With savings like that, you could be lounging on an impractical amount of ornate and overpriced throw pillows you bought for your couch. But you won't, because you're better with money than that. That's why you're calling us in the first place. Call 1-888-FARMERS to get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Based on average nationwide annual savings survey data July to December 2020. Underwritten by Farmers Trucker Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate. Products not available in every state.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
Well, since we've drifted into a ditch again, maybe we should take a left turn and use this opportunity to change direction. Talk about some lighter shit.
Well, I mean, real quick, lighter shit.
Yeah.
Biden. Poor Biden. We really need like one of those wrap it up lights when he talks. Like for his handlers to come be like, okay, Joe, that's enough. It's okay. Oh, no, President's tired now. President's going to go lay down for a little bit because they asked him about COVID vaccinations and people of color. And Biden comes out with, well, people of color, black and brown people in urban and rural areas sometimes don't know how to get online and, look up where to go to get a vaccination. And I'm just like, motherfucker. Everybody's got a smartphone in their fucking pocket.
Yeah, Joe, you have the internet in your pocket right now.
No, he don't. That's the problem. His handlers got his fucking smartphone. They don't trust him with a smartphone. They saw what the shenanigans Trump got up to. You imagine Joe waking up at 3 a.m, fucking tweeting shit out. So, anyways, I'm gonna have my balls laminated. Thank you, President. I'm glad that you fucking decided to share that with us. Like seriously, he just random shit. He just says it. I mean, he's more like Bush in that aspect, I think, than Trump. Trump said his shit with intent to wound and hurt and kill. Biden says shit because he's just fucking. He's kind of that guy. He's like little Carmine in The Sopranos, who's always getting shit. Yes, I'm glad you saw that. The sacred and propane. What? Propane? You mean profane?
I've heard.
Did I say that?
I read that in place of the late night Twitter sessions. Biden likes to walk around and pop in on people late night in other offices and other wings of the White House. That's his thing. Just being like, hey guys, I just imagine him walking around like in his slippers and a robe.
You Hefner pipe?
Yeah.
What y'all doing in here?
Hey guys, what's going on?
But no, I can't even get mad at him at that because I'm just like, I know what he was trying to say, but bro, like nobody has a BlackBerry or a flip phone that's under the age of I'm going to be very generous and say 55, unless they're a Luddite.
It's a dumb question. There's no evidence. There's been no evidence that any
black
one
or brown
race
people can't get on the internet.
No, that any race, black, whatever, is more susceptible to the COVID virus, to getting it, to having it be more dangerous to them. There's nothing.
You have not watched Gretchen Whitmer's press conferences, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about this plenty of times, and honestly, if you want a more respectable opinion on this, I would listen to Camille Foster talk about this on the Fifth Column podcast, and he wants to get away from all of this shit. He doesn't even identify himself as black. But what we need to talk about is poverty, right?
Yes.
We conflate black and poverty a lot in this country, and make faulty conclusions based on that of like black people are more susceptible to X. And it's not like, yes, we have a problem that, a disproportionate part of the black population is in poverty when compared to other races. And that is something that we should look at and address. But we got to stop addressing all the problems of poverty like race is the solution, because you'll never find the solution there.
And I think that's why it's a Bidenism is what I'm gonna call it. I think that's why he said, inner city and more rural areas. Like he was in his mind, he's like, I just covered white people. I just covered poor white people by saying rural areas. Because if you go up to like upstate New York, the only black people you're going to find there are like recruiters for the military. Like the area I was in, the Syracuse, Rochester, Rome area, hardly any black people. Well, but it's a lot of poor people because the biggest employer is Remington Arms, and we like our guns, but not enough to support one of the major states outside of New York City by itself. Not enough. Just it's not.
Well, look at the issue of reopening schools. Like you have the media wants you to believe that this is a right-left issue, that conservatives are too lenient about protecting teachers and kids in the schools and making sure that they're safe environments, and that and the conservatives believe the opposite about liberals. And so that's the stories that get the headlines, that everyone lines up on their side. This isn't a right-left issue. This is a rich-poor issue. Rich people have good internet, good car, good transportation. They have nannies and tutors available to them. They have options if they don't go into the school. And poor people don't have that. Mm-hmm. That's the difference.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not a right or left issue. It's not a black, is shutting down schools affecting black people more? Yes. Why? Because we have more black people in poverty than we should. Again, a problem that we should tackle, but if we're looking to tackle this immediate issue of what's happening in our schools, what's happening to our kids, their education, their mental health, their socialization, none of that involves being black. Being black is incidental to that, to solving that direct problem.
You just hit upon my major issue that I run into with a lot of my friends who are more progressive. Mm-hmm. I won't say left-leaning. I got to say progressive because they're the ones that I run into this issue with. Like when the word socialism comes up in America, everyone treats it like it's this political third rail. First of all, Bill Maher said it in 2010, and he was absolutely right. America's dirty secret is we love socialism.
Our farmers love it.
We're a hybrid economy.
Yeah.
We're a capitalist/socialist economy. We have social safety nets. We have subsidies, like you're talking about, for farmers. Farmers, military, biggest welfare queens we got, really. You want to really get down to it? I mean, we're sending most of our tax money to the military, and we're paying farmers not to grow crops. What would you call that? What would you call that? The government is literally controlling an industry. Here, we're going to pay you not to do your job. What would you call that?
Well,
and here's my problem. I don't have a problem with that because the issue is the inequality at the top and at the bottom. And I don't want everyone to be equal because it's not realistic. I mean, I want everyone to be equal, but I'm not going to demand everyone be equal because it's not realistic, because the only equality is at the bottom of the barrel, while the people at the top are still living high on the hog.
Well, right. The problem with trying to judge equality is that people are constantly judging it by the results. The results are never going to be equal. You're not going to say, okay, everybody's got the same opportunities and they're all working within the same system. You're going to have vastly different results because they're all different people with different motivations.
Well, do you understand, Aaron, why I don't economically, I don't have near as many issues with the Marxist school of thought for economics as I do cultural Marxism. Because one is bullshit, one is real. One is we demand equality of outcome. The only outcome you can guarantee is the shittiest outcome if we're going to do that. Yeah. That you can guarantee.
Yes. Right.
That does no one any good. And that's the problem we're facing now is we have so many we got 2.5, almost 3 generations who went to college, so-called intellectuals, and believe me, they think of themselves that way. Look at how they scoff and laugh and stare down their pointy-ass, waspy noses at everybody who doesn't agree with them and their little fucking echo chamber of a think tank of a bunch of fucking people who couldn't make it in the world, so they taught for the rest of their life. And it's like, what are you doing? Don't you understand? There are consequences. We can't force equality of outcome. We cannot do that. Now, equality of opportunity, I'm all for, but I still don't know how to do it. The problem is I can't get anyone to sit down and talk about how to do that because now they're focused on it's not equality, Rich. It's equity. Mm-hmm. Well, fuck you.
Yeah.
It's just like the war on drugs, on terrorism, on everything else. Like you're fighting an idea ultimately. You can't. It's almost impossible to stamp out an idea.
No, not almost. It is.
And
absolutely. I picked up.
Well, I mean, like over history, I'm sure there's been plenty of ideas that have been lost.
See, there's still Nazis.
Yeah, I was going to say there's bad ideas hang around like a bad penny. It just when they quote unquote surge, it's never as much as we think, and when they go away, it's never as much as we think. It's kind of like
when you find ways to attach bad ideas to accumulating power, then it's kind of hard to get rid of them.
Hey, what's the recipe for clusterfuck? That right there. So
yes.
No, and I mean, look, I understand and I get it. You're raised when you're a kid. You don't want to tell your kids. You don't want to hit your kids with the truth. A 5-year-old. Hey, is life fair? Fuck. This is a complicated conversation to have with a 35-year-old, let alone a 5-year-old. But you procreated. It's your job first to have. I mean, it's not solely your job. Other people will talk to your child, believe it or not. Even Carrie White's mom had to let her go to high school and have her first period in the fucking shower. Okay, so I mean, whatever. But you have to have these conversations. And blowing sunshine up their ass and telling them flat out falsehoods. And that's being pretty. You're lying to your children. And not the Santa Claus Tooth Fairy's coming tonight lie. You're lying about the reality of the world they're entering. And you have them ill-prepared for the world. And they go in the world, and they demand the entire world, 7 billion people, conform to them. That is a sick individual. That is a personality disorder, okay? DSM-V. There's a diagnosis in there for that, right? That's not how you aspire to raise your children. You aspire to, at least me, the only reason to look at another person's bowls is to see if they have enough. And if they do, let them the fuck alone, okay? You ain't got to fuck. Well, wait a minute. You got 4 more cornflakes than I do. Then they're not starving. Are you starving? Then shut the fuck up.
I'm of the opinion if there's a lot more of everyone minding their own shit, everything else would just kind of fall into place.
That's why.
I have intentionally given my kids different portions. Not consistently, just randomly, but they'll always get different portions.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, this is where, like,
if anyone complained, I'd be like, "Who's starving in this house?"
And then I come walking into my room, and they're like, "Well, definitely not him, Dad." Yeah, he don't even eat my cooking. So what's that tell you? So maybe you should have a second helping. Now that I think about it,
I'd say, "Hey, you don't read it, Rich will."
And they're like, yeah, we know. We can tell. His gravitational pull pulls us in when he leaves his fucking cave. Yeah, we know. Shit, I completely lost what I was going to say. Sorry. Anyways, what were we talking about before the different portion things?
Exactly. I don't know, man. I want to talk about that image, Doc.
Okay, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. I defer to you as the more expert on comic books than I. Let's pretend the people listening have no idea what Image is. Explain it for them.
So you had pointed out an Image, Doc, and I think it was actually already in my queue because I had gone through Amazon. It has a really good selection of documentaries, and especially ones related to nerd culture. There's lots of stuff that's going in depth to, like, I watched one about, we were talking earlier about Judge Dredd and 2000 AD and all that. There's a great doc that follows the whole history of 2000 AD, which was.
There's one about Grant Morrison I watched.
Yeah,
that dude is fucked. That's a whole different show though. But okay, in a good way, he's fucked. But
And so the Image one was on there, but it wasn't like a high priority because Image Comics was a thing that came up. So this would have been mid-90s, I think, is when they made that leap. And
3 possibly was the earliest.
Yeah, you're right. It was a little bit earlier. Yeah, right. Because I graduated in 93, and halfway through high school, I kind of put the comics aside. And it wasn't exclusively because of other things like girls and other activities and music and all this stuff. It was also part of what was going on in comics. Rob Liefeld was somebody who I actually held a lot of hate in my heart for a number of years, because The New Mutants was the book that initially got me into comics. It was the book that meant the most to me. And when he came in and completely overhauled it and made it a completely different book, and also did so with art that was completely different than what I was used to, I just threw the whole thing out. I was like, this is not for me anymore. And I just kind of said, hey, Rob Liefeld is a shitty artist and a shitty writer, and he ruined comics for me, and fuck him. And since then, I've actually grown to appreciate more. Like, there's still a lot of things about his art that I find kind of comical, but there's also this.
He cannot draw feet.
Right.
I know it's cliche and it's a trope, but Jesus Christ, it's true.
Right. But I've also come to appreciate him. Like, following him on Twitter, he would say a lot of outrageous things that would get people mad at him. And I would read them and I'd go, okay, like, that might be out of line, but show me where he's wrong, right?
No lie detected.
Right. So, like, if you wanna ride for the rest of your years on a Deadpool, a character that, sure, like, I'll give you all the credit for designing him, but you said as much as anybody, it's just Spider-Man with swords. And the full version that everybody loves, that Ryan Reynolds portrays, really has very little input from Liefeld when you really break it down. There's a lot of other writers that went through and broke down the fourth wall and expanded the character in ways that made him actually have a life that should have been, he should have went down the tube with fucking forearms, and that guy with the double swords, what was his name? I can't remember. See, nobody even remembers any of these characters.
No, seriously. I remember the covers, because the covers were just, the line from Chase and Amy describes Image Comics perfectly. Big tits, big pecs.
Yeah.
And over and underweight guys are our target audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was one statement. I kind of split it up, but if you go to a comic book store, you're gonna see a lot of skinny and fat people. It's just the truth. I've been in a lot of them. And God help you if you walk into a fucking Games Workshop and try to pick up some Warhammer shit, because it ain't nothing but fat and skinny people sitting around. Yeah. It's like, it's like I walked onto the set of the actual Big Bang Theory. These are real nerds.
So anyway, I kind of got into my own shit there for a second, but I just wanted to lay a little bit more groundwork. So Liefeld, who are the others? So Todd McFarlane,
Jim
Eric
Lee.
Larson, Jim Lee. These were all guys that were like.
Was Steinwick one of them?
No.
Okay.
Sienkiewicz? Is that who you're talking about?
I get those names mixed up. He's got a very distinctive art style. I know that. He did Arkham Asylum, didn't he?
Right. Yeah. No, that was Sienkiewicz.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, these guys were getting a lot of heat, and meanwhile, while comic book sales were booming at the time, the business practices were abhorrent. They didn't know what to do with any of that money, and they blew it trying to pursue movie deals and bad business practices and licensing shit out everywhere. And eventually the whole thing fell apart, and the mismanagement caused them to not be able to hold on to their talent. And, all these guys went off to create Image, which was just we'll do our own press, and we'll do it in a way that benefits us. So the idea behind Image is they are just the publisher. The rights, the original art, all of that is owned by the artists themselves. You draw the shit, you own the originals.
This is where I was comparing it to musician stuff. You could understand, Chris. It's like recording for a major label and owning your masters.
Yeah.
That's
so it was like an indie label explosion. And, these things were... Indie comics were always a thing. I mean, some of them quite famous, like Crumb and who are some others that I'm
American
blanking.
Splendor, House.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a bunch of them.
And
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, probably the biggest one in the 80s.
Yeah, so there was a lot of stuff that was, being published independently, and these people did because they were either publishing on a small label or doing it themselves. They owned the rights to all that stuff, but it had never been done on a way that actually could compete and overtake something like an X-Men comic, a Superman comic, a Batman comic. And what was happening is all the people that were doing all the big comics that were normally selling millions all left at once. That was pretty much all the guys who people were buying, they were buying an Eric Larson no matter what he was drawing, right? Mm-hmm. They were buying a Todd McFarlane no matter what he was doing.
Oh yeah. Jim Lee, big time.
Right.
How many variations of the X-Men 1 cover was there?
Oh God, huge.
10? Something like that? It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and so, it kind of was a wake-up call for the industry because, while yes, people will always love Batman, Superman, X-Men, all this stuff, what they ultimately follow, collect, cherish, and go to the conventions and talk to them is the artists themselves, the artists and the writers. Absolutely. The talent was king, and it put that focus back on them, and I see the parallels that you're making between the music industry, but I don't know that there's ever been that big of a shakeup to the music industry. I mean, we kind of saw it happen really slowly over the course of, post Napster and now into streaming. We've seen all that happen, but we haven't seen artists unite in a way that could actually, hey, we're going to do a collective of our own thing.
That's true. But I do think the shakeup, and there were some parallels drawn because all of this was, Image was founded in 92. I just looked it up.
Right, okay.
Which is, they were drawing parallels between the rock that was popular and coming out in 92 compared to 91, 90.
Yeah.
Like Marvel and DC were hair metal. Image was fucking like Rough Trade or some shit, Matador. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure,
they were sub pop. They come out of nowhere to rise up and be considered one of the big guys, and then just kind of settled back down. Water found its level, and they settled back down to what they are. Well, then you had people jump and ship, which is what you had in that scene too. And I believe it might not have been the documentary because I did watch a few mini documentaries about Rob Liefeld after, and the whole crew actually, after I watched the documentary, and he described, he's like, I kind of feel like the Kurt Cobain of the comic industry because a lot of the old guard hates me.
I think that. I can see that, and also, unfortunately, Liefeld is probably the one that got the most notoriety. I mean, he was in a fucking Levi jeans commercial with Spike Lee, for God's sake. Yeah. But he also produced the least amount of work out of any. I mean, look how long Spawn went for. Eric Larson still doing fucking Savage Dragon. Like Jim Lee, all the rest of those guys are fucking workhorses. And I'm not dissing not Larson, Layfield, right? But he's just a different dude, right? He's more in the mold of Stan Lee than he is Jack Kirby.
Absolutely. You know, I was like, is he Image's Stan Lee?
Yes.
Whereas McFarlane, and I didn't know this about McFarlane. First of all, two things in that documentary made me fall in love with Todd McFarlane as a human being. The way he looked at Rob Liefeld in the '92 interview, and he was like, "Did you actually pay money for that haircut?
Pay money for that haircut, bud?"
And then two was when he quit Marvel. He walked in their office with the guys that were leaving Marvel with him to go start Image, and he just goes, "You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. You're a piece of shit. I hate all y'all, and my life's work is to destroy you. I'm leaving. Yeah. Let's go to DC. I got to tell them the same thing."
Yeah,
and I was like,
literally, he had to say, like, "We're not here to negotiate. We're here to deliver the news to you. This is not a tactic. Like, this is what's happening." And all these guys that sold over the course of the last how many years, millions and millions of comics for you.
When they broke it down, that those, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, how many of the top selling comics when they left in the history of comic books were them that belonged to that crew? It was ridiculous. I mean, it wasn't even close. Like X-Men 1, I think I'm throwing numbers out my ass, but I think, let's just say they sold 4 million. But then they were like, but then this one come out, and this one sold 5 million, or what? You know, like Spider-Man 300 sold 1 million, and X-Men 1 sold like 4 million.
All the different covers and reprints, I think they get close to 7 million on that first X-Men that Jim Lee.
Yeah, because I have I have it at your house. I have the official big pull-out one where all the covers are in the one. And I remember when I bought it off the rack, you know. And I don't know, a year later, I went into a comic book store because that was near the very end of me collecting comics. I went into a comic book store just to see what was going on. And I was talking to the guy, and he's like, when's the last big comic you bought? And I was like, oh, X-Men #1. He's like, oh, did you get one of the variants? I'm like, no, I got the fold-out one. And this guy behind me is like, dude, I'll give you $50 for it right now.
Shut up. There's so many of those out there.
I'm like, yeah, hold on. It's in my car. What the fuck? You think I travel with it? What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? It's not Amazing Fantasy 11 or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? It's not Batman or Detective Comics #1 or Action Comics 12 or whatever the fuck Superman was in.
Oh, sure. Let me just call my guy. He's going to show up in an armored vehicle.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I have like 10 copies, mint condition, of Incredible Hulk 181. You want that too? Yeah, fuck it. I'll throw it in there. Yeah. Just sweeten the deal. By the way, that's first appearance of Wolverine. Well, yeah, for people that don't know. But no, and then out of all of them, just like and this is why I compare it to the music thing. Even though the more I'm talking about it, it seems like you're getting farther away from the music comparison. I'm like, I really like this comparison because just like a band, like I guess Slipknot, 7 members, I don't know, Wu-Tang Clan, I don't know.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
They started one by one falling off.
Sure.
And like when Jim Lee went to go work for DC and was freelancing and shit, like that pissed those guys off. They were like, dude, what are you doing? We're trying to revolutionize the industry, and you're going back to being a company man. And Jim Lee was his dirty little secret is kind of always was a company man.
Well, like, he's definitely a businessman, right?
Whether the company is his own or not. Out of that group, definitely.
Like, he saw that move to Image as a move to put him in a better position for the future. That's it. I don't think that he ever saw that, like, I will spend the rest of my life running my own imprint, because that's not ultimately what he was shooting for. He's shooting for what he is not. What he's like co-editor in chief or something like that of DC Comics.
Well, he left Image, and if I'm correct, immediately went to DC, took over Batman, and did the Hush story arc.
Yes.
Which was,
huge.
I wasn't even collecting comics at that point, and I had heard about that. That's how fucking, it's like Cyberpunk for Chris, when he's like, I don't play video games, and I heard about the fucking thing.
That the generation just after mine, like I said, I had already kind of stopped reading comics on the regular at that point, especially like monthly superhero stuff. But, anybody under 40, that's like in their top 5.
Yeah.
Hush. And because it was hitting them at that right time, they were probably 13, 15 years old. And this was like, oh, this is what comics could be. I mean, for us, that's more like The Dark Knight and Arkham Asylum, stuff like that. The British invasion that came over in the early 80s, Watchmen, all that shit. Hush is like that generation's Watchmen.
I missed out on the whole British thing.
Yeah.
My dad and I were both collecting when Watchmen come out, and my dad bought issue 1, and he was like, oh, I thought this was going to be like a reimagining of Justice League or something. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, I'm good on this. And so I just never read it until like almost 2000. I read the graphic novel. Right. I was like, this is a lot better than I fucking thought.
I wish I could remember it, but there's not like there's going to be multiple 2000 AD docs on Amazon. So you could probably find it pretty easily. But it was really good because it covers all the way up to, it's covering Alan Moore and Grant Morrison and I'm blanking on a lot of other names, but all these British guys that came over, Garth Ennis was one of them. All these guys were doing work for 2000 AD, and you see the ideas jump from overseas, from 2000 AD to these DC and Marvel comics in the early 80s.
And what's really weird is my dad, for all of his...
Or even Claremont. I mean, he was writing fucking Captain Britain back in the day. He brought all that shit over to American comics with him.
Yes, he did. But I guess my dad was just because he grew up on DC and Marvel. That was it. Those are the two for him. I mean, when you're 45 and you start collecting comics again, and the last time you collected them, you were 14. You kind of, I guess you're going back for some comfort, so you really don't want a bunch of like deconstruction and Alan Moore-isms thrown at you. You're just like,
when I got back into comics, I was like, all right, what's going on with X-Men and Batman? You know, I didn't stick with them all, but it got me an entry point back into it.
But I will say this: I know more about Alan Moore's work than Alan Moore, and I think that's by design on his part, especially after watching that Morrison documentary.
Yeah.
Grant Morrison. And on top of that, I kind of think Alan Moore's he's kind of a fucking cocksucker, dude.
Oh, sure, for sure.
like Grant Morrison said it back. Chris, if you're even on with us anymore,
you talking about Jim Morrison? What's going on?
Yeah, well, okay. I'm about to break it down and give you a comparison.
Grant Morrison is the Jim Morrison of comics, though.
By the way, he hates everybody else's work in comic books except for his own.
Yeah.
He thinks he's the only one who's putting out anything worthy in comics.
He's the Christopher Nolan of comics.
Yes.
Chris, I've never felt a need to strike you until now, but next time I see you, duck, sir. I'm just saying. How dare you talk about the man who made Memento like that? I'm just saying, joking, obviously. But anyways, and Grant Morrison, it's like, oh, this flaky fuck. I'm watching it, and I'm like, I'm fully ready. The minute they mentioned Alan Moore, I was fully ready to love him and hate Morrison. I was like, here we go. And I was like, wow, I really like Grant Morrison. Alan Moore's a cocksucking asshole. This guy's a dick. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's an insufferable fucking dick. Like, if you were in a band with him, you would quit.
Oh, he's like, Alan Moore's like militant about comics. Like, there's one way to do them, his way. However he did a comic, that's how you do comics. Everybody else is doing it wrong.
And listen, he's wrote some great stories.
Absolutely.
I just rewatched. Yes, I understand it's a watered down version of his vision of Watchmen.
Sure.
But I just rewatched the 3.5 hour Watchmen the other day and was like, God damn, man, this is a pretty. For a world he pulled out of his ass, I know he based it on Golden Age heroes and shit, but a world he pulled out of his ass created an entirely different alternate timeline.
Yeah.
and it's a 12-issue limited series. You don't get that type of detail usually in comics back then from a fucking series that's ran for 4 decades. Like, they were a lot more episodic. Like, you know, I remember this. I remember walking into a comic book store and going, oh, Batman is fighting Two-Face in this comic. And I knew that when I picked that comic up, I was going to read a story where Two-Face was going to do some Two-Face shit, Batman's going to do some Batman shit. At the end, Batman catches Two-Face and throws him back in Arkham, and all's right with the world. And that was it. And the next comic would be a completely different story. He brought maturity to it, but he also brought the deconstructionism that too many fucking people who, one, can't do it properly, and two, just, it's like people who listen to metal or really technical, like thrash or death metal, and all they get is the aggression out of it, and they don't understand the skill and precision it takes to create that music.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is going to keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Shall we fly somewhere? Hold on. Oh my God!
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is going to keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Shall we fly somewhere? Hold on. Oh my God!
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
Call 1-888-FARMERS to switch, and you could save an average of $470 on your auto insurance. That's a lot of money in just a few minutes. With savings like that, you could be lounging on an impractical amount of ornate and overpriced throw pillows you bought for your couch. But you won't, because you're better with money than that. That's why you're calling us in the first place. Call 1-888-FARMERS to get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Based on average nationwide annual savings survey data July to December 2020. Underwritten by Farmers Trucker Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate. Products not available in every state.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is going to keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Shall we fly somewhere? Hold on. Oh my God!
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be all right.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
Yeah, the art of the single story, the single issue story, has been almost completely lost. There's still some guys that are out there that can do it and do it well, but it's not the majority because it's not what it's not what the industry's doing. I don't know if that's what people want or not, but the industry is definitely they're ultimately like the floppy is good. And that's kind of like advertisement, and that you get your collectors, you get your hardcore fans. What is the consistent moneymaker is the trade, and the trade is based on having at least 5 or 6 issues of a story all together. So that's what that's what DC and Marvel are for, and even Image are formatted for. You know, Image is much more, much less restrictive of a company, but they still have an approval process. And if you're not going to play the Image way, then you're not going to get your stuff published by Image. And so Image wants to know, like, how much of a story do you have? Don't come to Image with a 3-issue story because they're like, what the fuck are we going to do with that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How do we publish? We charge people $8 for a 3? How do we even? You know, there's like a price point that they can put on a 5 or 6 issue story or a 12-issue collection or something like that. So, but you know, there some of the stronger writing actually is going on when it comes to DC, especially is going on in the digital stuff that they're doing, because digital is allowing them to put more of a focus on self-contained individual issue stories. One of the better ones that they stopped doing, but Mark Russell is a writer that I really like. He's done a lot of kind of parody stuff. He did the most recent Flintstones comic for DC that was kind of reimagining it in a more realistic context and making some social points, but also doing it with a lot of great humor. And he has this great knack for doing that classic single issue story. He did a whole series of a six issues of story that all tie together to tell one Swamp Thing story, but each issue can be read independently and enjoyed. It has a beginning, middle, and end. There's no cliffhangers, and so there's a way to do this really well, but there's so much disincentive built into the industry, the structure of the industry. And some of that's starting to blow up. The new, it's not about Image and independent publishers anymore. It's now about Kickstarters, having independent campaigns where people are, they're paying $20 for a single floppy, but they're also getting, some other goodies and maybe a sticker or something like that, but they feel like they're directly contributing to not only that issue coming out, but the second issue and the third.
What's going to... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done. I'm rambling.
Well, no, I you know what's going to kill that model, though?
What's that?
Is when the speculating collectors get their toe in the market, and they go, wait a minute. So 200 people donated to this comic, and they printed 500 of them, and 200 of them went to the people who donated, so there's only 300 of them. They're collectible.
That's the problem with the Image story, though, too. When these guys are making these comics, they think that they're bringing comics back to the 1940s, right? When you could publish an adventure comic or a detective comic and sell millions of copies of it because there were that many people, both young and old, that were into reading that. And it was also priced at a price point where you're like, all right, I got 15 cents. Let me read that Batman story, Now, the Image story is still closer to what we are experiencing now, which is you get booms, but they're all speculator-based. And we're going to see even more of that. The more these things get developed into television and movie properties, and the more money that you can make on these characters and stories that they're telling in independent comics, there's going to be bigger money decisions to be made than just how to tell a great story.
See, my only concern with when they start expanding into other media besides traditional media, like there's always been video games of comics that never had movies or television shows. Sure. That's true. I consider that part of when video games came in the bean within the first 3-4 years of Atari 20 and ColecoVision or whatever the fuck that came out from when they launched, I guarantee at most it took 5 years to get like a Superman or Spider-Man fucking game out. Tops. 5 years tops. So that's, I consider that part of, the legacy media. But the new media, like, okay, The Boys, like for example, you watch the show. We've talked about it on the show. We've talked about it off the show. You watch the show, you get one vibe from the show. You read the comic book, and you get a try-hard edgelord vibe. And it's still entertaining for what it is, but to me, I think this is one of the very few comic book properties I've ever seen brought to the screen, whether it's the big or the small, that actually improved upon.
Oh, absolutely.
The story. Because everybody's fair game in the show.
Yeah.
I mean, the last season ended with their version of AOC basically being a scanner and being a bad guy. And it was like, no one saw, I didn't see that coming. I was here we go. They're going to go full woke with this bullshit.
The comics, that's, you got Derek Robertson and Garth Ennis. They're still young. They're kind of rebels in the industry, and they're just being cheeky monkeys, right? They're lampooning what they think deserves to be lampooned. Big comics, big superheroes, and all that. So that's their point of view, and it's of the 90s, right? That kind of...
Did that come out? Did that premiere in the 90s or 2000s?
I want to say it was late 90s. Might have been.
That would make sense.
Might have been early 2000s.
I could see it straddling both because it does feel very 90s in the beginning.
Yeah. Either way, there was still that attitude going into the 2000s. There was kind of a masculine pushback to political correctness. And that's what this was part of.
And see, like, I know that ruffles a lot of feathers with certain people of certain ilks. Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem with that. Just like I don't have a problem with like full-on feminist, propaganda. Once again, sure. I use the word not in the negative sense, in the truest sense of the word. It's promoting their point of view. That's propaganda.
Yes.
And I don't have a problem with that. It's when people tell other people, you can't like this one, but you can like this one. Fuck you. I like them both, and I like what I like. Okay? I don't give a fuck. Like, I watch movies and I watch political commentators that I disagree with all the time. So I know where, what's going on. It's called being engaged. Like, we've talked about this before, but God damn it, art, its main point is to elicit a reaction from a person.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming most artists want that positive reaction, but man, Chris, you watch enough sports, there's people that love to be the bad guy.
Absolutely.
Love to be the bad guy. Terrell Owens. Yeah, yeah. Terrell Owens, Ndamukong Suh, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just, yeah, I'm the bad guy. I'm the one your mother warned you about. And you know what? My mother knows I'm out here fucking you up, too. And she ain't going to do shit about it. So what are you going to say? Those people are the ones that ruin it for everybody else. Because the people who hate those people see that and they go, you like something a person like that created? Then you're as bad as that person. No. Can we get over that? Like, we all understand John Lennon probably wasn't a really good guy to be in a relationship with, but he made great music. Can I appreciate his creativity, the beauty he did inject into this world, while at the same time going, he shouldn't have done the horrible shit that he did in this world?
I had somebody tell me one time that they didn't like Christopher Walken, and I said, why not? He's a great actor. It's not like he's been bad in anything. Yeah, but he always plays bad guys. He always plays bad people.
He's an actor.
Right. Then he did his job correctly, right?
Let me tell you something. I played
they cannot separate the reality from the story.
Let me tell you something. I played my first online dice, pen, paper, role-playing game the other night.
Yeah?
And, like, online. Like, I've done it in person with people and shit. But I forgot how fun it is to be the bad guy sometimes. I sometimes pushing people's buttons just to push them is fun. I mean, I'm not talking like, hey, did your mom just die? Let me dig her up and fuck her in front of you. I'm not talking like that. I'm talking just like, a little dig here. Like, man, why are you fucking with me? Oh, no. I'm bored.
Dude, I was thinking about this the other day because they were talking on Judge John Hodgman. Somebody had wrote in about they play a lot of board games, them and their friend and their other friends, but the two of them were having a disagreement over the concept of king-making. Whatever the game is, basically somebody who has no chance of winning but can make decisions that could still direct the outcome and maybe like help somebody out to help them win or hobble somebody else that they don't want to win. And they were talking about more in board games, but these board games are getting so complex now that they're basically role-playing games. And,
oh, God, yeah.
And
they cost a whole lot more than $150 for fucking Settlers of Catan. Get the fuck out of here.
So, one of them saying that this is an unfair practice. This is not sportsmanlike and I'm like, dude, that was like the whole game for me. That's all we fucking did. We were agents of chaos. You couldn't fucking win. You just fuck shit up.
You know how I used to win Monopoly? I'd be the biggest dickhead in the world. I'd buy up all the fucking cheap properties at the corners, the first two corners, and build crack hotels on them.
Yeah.
And then come visit me. Come visit me. And people would land and be like, oh, whatever, man. It's Baltic Avenue. And I'm like, yeah, it's still going to run you like $1,100.
Which is like, hey, you forgot to pay my girl.
Hey, fuck you. Pay me.
I'll give you $5 for your bitch.
Yeah. What about the company last night? That's not free.
So what I would do, because if you read the rules of Monopoly, you're allowed to do this. You can make side deals. I would go, okay, here's the deal. You don't have my money. That's cool.
It's coming out of that ass.
Here's how we're going to do this. I can land on any of your properties 5 times rent-free, and I'll let you slide on the rent on this.
Oh, or you do like a subscription program. Every turn you pay me $5, you can stay at any of my properties for free.
Yeah. Or
there you go.
I never pulled that, but I did pull this. Or, I got 3 railroads and 1 utility, and you got 1 railroad and the other utility. Hand them over. And I would literally send friends and my ex-wife into fits of rage where they would just go broke and pay me instead of doing, no, I'm not taking your bullshit deal. Your devil deal. Fuck that. I'd rather lose the fucking game than owe you anything. And I'm like,
that is the game. That's how you play. That is the whole point. Yeah. Nobody plays it until everyone goes broke and there's only one person surviving with money.
The name of the game is Monopoly. I think it gives a hint of what you have to do to win.
Hey, think what you want. I bet Trump was real fucking good at Monopoly.
Yeah, but he designed that Trump the game, and it was horrible. I had that shit. It was horrible. The money looked bad.
Well, knowing what you know about him now.
What were the pieces?
Think he designed it? He just put his name on it.
Oh, God, no. Yeah, I don't. Aaron, I don't remember off the top of my head. I just remember they were very ill-formed. Like, you know how when they do injection molding, they gotta, if they do it right, they should shave, like, when they break the pieces off of the, whatever the.
Yeah, it still has whatever, what do you call it?
The extra, where, they usually, like.
I should know the name for this because this is shit that I do for a living.
Well, if you're into miniatures, you take an X-Acto knife and you shave it down and you get it flush with the rest of it. Then you can paint your shit. And
they're injection points, I think.
Yes, dude, you'd pick up a piece and you'd puncture your finger.
Right.
I was like, what the fuck, man? I'm bleeding to play this game? And then this was kind of a cool thing. Instead of a bank where you would, most people put, in Monopoly, put their money under the board or whatever and line it up. It had like this, it was a money, like a dollar bill shaped black box. And you'd slide money into it. And I don't remember the mechanics of the game, but I just remember that if you did something, you got this black box, and boom, you had all the money in it. And I was like, well, that's kind of cool, because if you throw it in community, if you do
the free parking,
yeah, if you do that, you can see how much is in there. So what I'm saying, you could plan accordingly if you're Machiavellian enough.
So there's a little bit of gambling in there, like
you don't know how much they got. Unless you can, you're like Rain Man counting cards. Like, unless you can keep track of every single piece of paper that went in there and how much it was worth, you don't know. And I was like, that's kind of a cool aspect. Rest of the game, straight booty. Bullshit, man. And I was just like, Nana, why'd you buy me this? She's like, I don't know, it's on sale. I'm like,
that's usually the answer to most things.
I bet it was. Yeah, I bet it was.
Right, but your options were fewer then, so I'm sure you played it anyway. You're like, all right, guess I'm saving up for a Russian wife.
I will say this, though.
Let me see some 6.
Get it. Hold on, wait. 6? You mean double D, baby? That's what Oh, you like? I'm sorry. You like them petite? Yeah, you like.
There's nothing double D about Melania. Come on now.
There's nothing double D about Aaron. First,
you get a community chest card. Flip it over. It says you get a new wife. You get a new wife from Russia. Roll for breast size.
you get a new wife from Russia. She plays second. Well, I don't want that bitch. I want the one that won. There's a winner at. That's the most Trump thing in the world right there.
Roll for breast size. Where'd you get 2 D20s?
But I do want to say I've in the last. Oh shit! That's a good. I will say this: having spent much more time in hobby and gaming shops in the last 2 months or so than I have in the previous 20 years. Holy shit, you weren't bullshitting about board games. That is a huge industry that I had a dead spot in my knowledge of. And I went in there and I was looking and I'm like, you want $160 for Axis and Allies?
Mm-hmm. What?
I'm like,
$160? Dude, the version we played was like $40.
Yeah, this is the entire fucking world, though.
Does it come with Hitler's bones?
It comes with expansions you build upon, and the Pacific Theater, and the European Theater, and it's got this expansion, and you can have Special Forces expansion, and the all in one, like $160. And I'm going, first of all, if I buy my children a board game that costs $160 and they lose a die or a piece, I'm beating the shit out of everybody. The cat's getting the ass whoopings tonight. Like everybody's, if you're in the house, I'm beating your ass. That is ridiculous. Second of all,
come in the kitchen, find him trying to take over Germany with a Scotty dog and an iron.
What the fuck is that shit? Okay, I know we did not fucking cross Italy with a community chess card. I know that. Okay.
What is that? A sorry figure?
Yeah.
Okay. I've read a history book and I've seen Patton. He wasn't riding a shoe across Italy. Okay. All right. But seriously, man, like these games, and they look like rows and rows and like half of. No, I'm exaggerating. Like 1/5 of the game wall at the old school Toys R Us. The first wall you walk into, the left video games, right your board games. About 1/5 of the game wall in a store that's like 1/20th the size of a typical Toys R Us back in the day. And I'm just looking at these games and I'm like, these games look awesome, but Jesus Christ, man. I gotta sell a kidney for one of these. And he's like, yeah, they're kind of expensive. I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and stick with the role-playing games because I can imagine shit for free. It got me through my teenage years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never jerked. What the fuck what porn did we have besides what you could find in your house? And if mom and dad were divorced, good luck with the porn you'd find that mom had. Who wants to see some dude getting pegged? You know what I'm saying? Like, that wasn't turning me on at fucking 13 years old.
But I don't think, like, the board games aren't really, that's not too young of a thing.
No,
like, it's at least not for my kids and their friends. They're doing more of the role playing and online multiplayer, whatever. They're doing all that shit. The people who are doing the board games, those are later in their 20s into 30s. Looking for excuses to just get together and not have to do karaoke or whatever.
Yeah, I won't give him a shout out to his name or shop because he ain't hooked me up enough yet here locally. But maybe one day. I've never even told him I do a podcast, so he has no reason to. He's like, you're just another fat ass white boy coming in buying shit. Here, buy your book and leave. But he was a cool guy to talk to, and I'm like, these games, who do you sell them to? He's like, he's like, how old are you? Late 30s? Like, oh, you're a sweetheart. No. And he's like, 40s early? I'm like, mid. And he's like, okay, fair enough. He goes, a little bit younger than you. Like imagine a couple who had a kid young, and now they're in their mid to late 30s, and the kid isn't home as much.
Yep.
And they have their friends over, like you just said, instead of going out to the bar. And this is pre-COVID, apparently.
Yeah.
They come over and, like Cards Against Humanity. I've played that at so many parties over the last 10 years, and I still don't understand the point of that game besides just come up with shit to make people laugh. I think that's did you laugh hard? Yeah. Good, you won. I think that's the rules of the game. I don't know. I swear to God. But
there's some great ones that I want to try. Like it's like kind of an independent guy who made it's called Cro-Magnon Poetry or something like that, or Caveman Poetry, and you're supposed to like communicate like an idea or a concept, but you can only use single syllable words, and that's the whole game. Like, communicate it in single syllables.
You can't do that with my friends, because if it was I'm in the mood.
As
He would just get up
what?
front, knock her off, drag her to the bedroom by the hair of her fucking head. Like, we're playing a nice game. Now we're witnesses in a rape.
Your crowd's like, we got to use words.
Yeah, no, my crowd turns a board game night into The Accused. I'm like, what the fuck, man? This is some bullshit here. Even though some of their girlfriends would probably excel at monosyllabic noises. Just saying. I mean, I mean, if we drop a bomb on a girl's night out, we're not losing the cure for AIDS here. We're going to be okay.
Oh,
just out there. What? They know. And their old ladies know, too. That's why they're like, Rich, no, you can't come over. Why? Girls here. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. All right. Have a nice one, because I just can't fake it. I just can't. I'm like, you don't want to be here. Let me ask this question real quick. What is it with women being so comfortable coming in and ruining a good time for everybody else? Like, especially like once a woman becomes a mother, that's second nature. She'll walk in the room, knock it off, and then just walk out.
This question feels like a trap.
Yeah, right?
Trap.
No, this ain't 4chan. There's no traps. Okay, I mean, I'm dead serious. I'm just like, I would never walk in a room with people having fun and tell them to shut the fuck up and then just storm out. But all my friends' wives do. Like, and girlfriends, and I'm just like,
dude,
were you feeling good about the 2 push-ups you did this morning? I don't understand. Like,
that just sounds like they all made poor choices.
Yeah, they shouldn't have wore that dress. They were asking for it. Shouldn't have been out there that time of night. End up coming home with that type of bitch. I got you. Yeah, that's the other thing. Guys, I've been in a lot of bad relationships. That's your fault. Women, I've been in a lot of bad relationships. Oh, you poor thing.
My wife and I have been together for 6 years. At no point have any of us either walked in the room and went, hey, shut the fuck up, and then left.
Major difference. Major difference. What did I say? Do not fucking try to take words out my mouth.
Oh, with kids.
In my mouth, motherfucker.
Yeah, mothers. Yes, gotcha.
Yes. Especially, it happens, but it's rare with the childrenless women. They join in on the fun, at least until it gets to like the philosophically stupid shit that guys talk about. Then we make a podcast about it. But, it's just like, once the kids are here, that's it. Just done. I'm just, anybody else notice it, or am I the only one? I mean, I understand you got to protect your kids. You don't want your kids hearing certain shit. But I mean, like, if we're not in there, like,
we all have a mom, right? I mean, so.
Yep.
Mom was generally raining on the parade when I was a kid. She will never hear this, so I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, wow, I almost said something I shouldn't have. Sorry. Yeah, Ma isn't the one that listens, is she? That was Dad.
No, that listener's gone.
Yeah. But no, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Protect your children, because I know everyone forgets this, but I am a father, and I'm like Vince Vaughn in Old School. Yeah, you can cuss in front of me. You just got to say earmuffs, and then my buddy's like cocksucking, cum guzzling. You don't have to celebrate the fact.
Balls.
I just said. Yeah, you ain't got to fucking celebrate it. Jesus, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I know that I bring out the best in certain people, especially the female of the species, because they just love my honesty. So, does this dress make me look fat? No, your ass does. Dress looks great. It's black. But yeah, rest of you, that's a mess. Oh, I can't believe you said that. Bitch, I'm fat. If I come out and half my guts hanging out and say, this outfit made me look fat, I expect a yes. Well, I was expecting a compliment, not honesty. And that's the difference.
We're at a point in our relationship where I have said and am okay with saying, I don't know how to answer this right now.
You know what, though, dude? You've fucking proven time and time again on this show and just talking personally, you got yourself a damn near a unicorn. As old as she is, no kids, doesn't want kids. Right there, that's... And I'm not saying she's old.
It ain't all sunshine and farts, but, I get it. But yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Aaron, come on now. You've had to have at least at some point looked at the dating pool online just out of morbid curiosity and been like, oh, I already got 2 kids. I'm not trying to raise 3 more plus the chick I'm dating. So I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you serious? Like, well, if you're going to get to know me, you got to take my kids with me.
The thinking really hasn't even gotten to that point. Like, honestly, my kids are way more important to me right now than trying to pursue any relationship. So, like, that's pretty much it. You know, I'm not trying to avoid anyone, but if you don't pursue it, it ain't going to happen. So,
well, in my experience, sometimes when you're not looking is when it just lands on you.
Well, it could happen, and I'm not going to like
get mad.
Well, I can't say. I might react a little strange because it's been a while. You know? Like, I ain't seen pussy in so long. I'd probably try and whack it with a bat.
Like, is that pussy or
oh
a
my
bad?
God, what is that?
Is that pussy or a bad grilled cheese sandwich? Either way, I'm going to eat it. I don't know. You know, it's just like.
But no, I'm with you on the thinking, and like to me, it's more extreme than that. Even it's not even. It's just trying to look for another relationship to invest my time and emotional energy, and it's just not what I'm looking for right now. Not when I have kids that need me. I'm not saying that you can't do both, or that you're like a bad person if you date and you're also a parent. It's just that's where my priorities are right now, and. You know, it would take something considerable to get through that right now.
No, it took many decades for me to understand that the vast majority of adults who date, who are divorced, are not the people in my family. Because people in my family, like dick and pussy, make them lose their minds. They forget everybody else exists, and it just. Whatever hole they're either getting filled or filling up at the time, that's all that matters to them. Mm-hmm. And I hate people like that. Like I've had one friend in my life who ditched me for his old lady. Like didn't talk to him for 5-6 years because of his old lady. And then he got divorced and he came crawling back, and I was like, that's your one, and that's the last time. I'm here forever. These bitches ain't yours. It's just your turn with them. Learn that, understand that. You'll be a lot happier in life because now you're divorced with no friends except for me. I'm forgiving. Rest of them ain't. Like, and it's just the same thing with kids. I would never start to try to date a woman or a guy if I was gay or
a kid.
Binary. I mean, I guess if I was R. Kelly, I wouldn't try to date. I mean, you know, I would have to say that, but you know, like, but I would, and it'd be like, you know, well, if you want to get me, you got to get to know my kid. Like, no, I've had sex with people who don't even know my daughter's name. That's fine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need you to be up in my fucking life constantly from the get-go. And that, to me, is just like, that's a red flag, man. I'm like, I'm good on that. And
I mean, that's another thing. You know, like I said, I'm not avoiding it. I'm just not looking because I know that at a certain point I'm going to have to come up against the problem of whoever I want to make part of my life, they want to be part of my life, you know, they're going to have to settle with the leftovers. That's just how it is, you know. I'm not going to immediately mix our life together with, you know, potential, partner with my kids' lives because I don't know what's going to happen to that. I don't need people just coming in and out of my kids' lives. And also, you might just be fucking crazy. Sometimes it takes a while to figure out, right? I don't need that shit poisoning my kids, right? So my life's going to be separate. And so if I have the opportunity to have my kids over like I have recently, you know, one of the benefits of the pandemic and having them be not homeschooling, but, you know, remote learning is that they can spend more time over at my place if they want to, and it's not a big deal. So, you know, how do you balance that? You say, hey, baby, guess what? I had the opportunity to have my kids for 8 days straight. So see you when that's over. Because that's the reality of it right now. If somebody's okay get up with in them that, guts on day 9, babe.
Yeah.
What did you say?
I'm going to get up in them guts on day 9.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to blow your back out. Like, literally and figuratively.
In 9 days. I could find that relationship, but, you know, that's going to be a unicorn relationship. And I don't know if it's worth going through a lot of donkeys trying to find that unicorn right now. That's not how I just feel like my time is best spent.
I'm just saying, every once in a while, nothing feels better than just a good piece of ass. So, I mean, whether it's a donkey or unicorn, hey, I hear hoof beats. I don't think zebras. I think horse. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm just like, I'm okay with it. Like, if it happens, it happens. But yeah, the circle I'm running in now is very much the married, committed. I'm married with kids and lawn furniture. Like, nobody's going anywhere without a fucking big to-do. And it's weird because I'm going to say it's about 50-50 with my friends coming to me like, man, dude, I love my wife. I love my kids, man. Like, I couldn't be happier. And I'm like, bro, I'm happy for you, man. I'm glad. And then the other half are like, you know how much I have to drink every night to keep from cutting her head off and putting it in the bowling bag? And I'm like, sorry. He's like, if it wasn't for the kids. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she's thinking the same thing. I'm like, it's a little different now. Everybody just got divorced, got the house, full custody of his 3 kids, and a third of her retirement. I'm like, maybe shit is changing. Because I'm not naming names, and I swear to God, if he was a shitty father, I wouldn't even bring this up. He's a great father. She's a shitty mother. And for once, the courts were able to see it. And I was like, this is amazing, because this would not have happened when we were kids. It just didn't. A woman filing for divorce with 3 kids, Dad, you got to leave. And Uncle Jack's moving in tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just how that shit we used to work. Now, but shit's changing, and that's what. Okay. I mean, you're able to see your kids, Aaron, as far as I know, without hate and discontent, and just passive aggressiveness and shit constantly between you and your ex. And as much as the court's been dragged into it, they seem to be hands off as far as how you guys want to work out, seeing the kids and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. First of all, both y'all's parents were fucking privileged white motherfuckers. Both y'all's parents were married. Your parents still married, Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your parents stayed married till one of them died.
Yeah,
man.
Death broke up my parents' marriage. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not divorced. They just ain't reunited yet. That's dedication, man. Hey, my parents were like, fuck this 3 times each. So I'm just like, I've seen it firsthand. It's different these days. And, I'm just throwing it out there. I bitch a lot about, women. Y'all get away with a lot of shit. Y'all get fucking set asides for a lot of shit that would not slide if you had outdoor plumbing below your waist. But one of the things that y'all had, and I think every guy could agree with this who's ever seen a divorce in the past 40 years, was unless you're a complete fuck up, you're walking into court knowing, unless you stick your foot in your mouth, you got it made. It ain't that way anymore, apparently. It is what it is, huh? I mean, kind of sucks. And here's the funny part. How am I supposed to get to know my kids only seeing them every other weekend and every Wednesday night? Oh, boo-hoo, bitch. I don't know.
Hey, it's that equity you wanted.
Yeah. You weren't saying this when your daddy was seeing you twice a month. Were you?
Well, if the mother's still stable, she's going to get the majority of the time with the kids. So, if you're only seeing them on the weekends or every other weekend, then you made some poor choices.
You have chosen poorly. Yes, it is very, very much that situation. Hey, but still, they acknowledged it.
I got to wrap this up. I got to get something to drink and urinate.
All right.
I have to release some fluids and inject some more.
At the same time?
I might have to.
All right. Well, then I'll make this quick. Follow us on social media on Twitter at UnregimentedPod. Like us on Facebook. Email us unregimented@ChristopherMedia.net. Hit the Amazon button, the PayPal button. You can help us out. One costs you money. One is doesn't. It's money you're already spending, and it helps us out. And while you're on Amazon, you can go to Amazon Music. You can listen to us there, as well as Audible, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. God damn it.
We are now on YouTube. I know this doesn't seem like a big thing, but if you'd like to listen to an episode you've already listened to on the website, go to YouTube, the visit, the subscribe, it helps us.
Yeah.
Because YouTube will actually pay us to put our shit up there if enough people see it and listen to it. So, no pressure.
But we're also iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher. We don't want
podcasters.
Wherever. We just want your ears in the most innocent way possible.
Yes, and YouTube is just the newest thing we're on, so that's why we're pumping that up now. So.
Yes. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Later, guys.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is gonna keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Are we flying somewhere? Hold on. Oh my god!
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be alright.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
You're saying you're Superman?
Tuesday on the CW.
Who told the boys you're Superman? Couldn't lie to him anymore. This is gonna keep my family together.
From the creators of The Flash.
Are we flying somewhere? Hold on. Oh my god!
Comes the highly anticipated new series.
I can't just abandon the world.
The world will always need Superman. But right now, this family needs you more.
Superman and Lois.
We're gonna be alright.
Don't miss the 2-hour series premiere. All new Tuesday on the CW.
It all starts Tuesday at 8, only on Pix 11, the CW.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.